Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to an all-new year of racing here at NXTGEN Racing. It's 2024, Happy New Year to you all, and we are back once again with some absolutely fantastic racing ahead of us. And of course, what better way to kick off 2024 and an all-new year of sim racing other than the continuation of Season 5 of the NXTGEN Racing Touring Car Championship, the NXTCC. You all know and love it, and here we are today at France for the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours. Making its debut on our NXTCC calendar, this is a highly technical circuit which has been the mainstay of many international series over the years and played host to Formula 1 for the best part of 20 years up to 2008, and had been a regular of a number of other series including the Porsche Super Cup and also the Blancpain GT Championship. But as our drivers all get ready to go racing today in round 7 to 10, we've got 3 races on the schedule, and you're tuning in live via the official broadcast brought to you on NXTGEN media channels including at YouTube at youtube.com, and hello to you guys and girls there. Alternatively, you could be on Facebook right now. Tune in via facebook.com/groups/NXTGEN Racing. And of course, we also do have available the unofficial broadcast available on Twitch at twitch.tv/TX141. But regardless of what media platform you're tuning in from, welcome to you all. I'm very glad to have you here, and I hope you had a great start to 2024. And if you haven't, then the race today is definitely going to turn that frown upside down. And in the commentary booth, you have myself, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain a Spit, depending on what media follow me on. And our schedule for tonight is as follows. Times in Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinated Time at UTC. Well, as we can see, our schedule has been brought forward by 10 minutes due to a slight clerical error, and it means the racing is going to get underway a little bit sooner. Indeed, we are only approximately 9 minutes away from going into qualifying, 15 minutes in duration at 10 to 8 this evening, but we transition immediately into the first of our 3 12-lap sprint races today. Race number 1 is going to be at 8:05, after which we have a brief breather before returning for race number 2, albeit not without that important reverse grid draw for race number 2, of course. And race number 2 is being scheduled to kick off, or the lights going out at approximately 10 to 9, after which we'll take another brief breather, but not without our reverse grid free draw, and that will see our drivers then make their way to the grid for the final race of the day, and they'll be lined up for lights out at approximately 25 to 10. 3 races on the schedule, and this series powered by IMB Racewear and brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available on PC, known as iRacing, is the ultimate series of front-wheel drive, front-engine action. And well, as we get ready to go today, let's give you a reminder of our season so far and what we've still got lying in wait. For as we can see, we started off all the way back on the 7th of November in 2023 at the Brandtach Grand Prix circuit. We began in the United Kingdom. We rapidly then made our way across the Atlantic Ocean to the United States of America for the one and only circuit of the Americas for our first visit of the season. That was on the 14th of November before we made our way southwards to South America for the Autodromo Jose Carlos Pache, also known as Interlagos. That was the 21st of November, and there we wrapped up the first third of the season. We then returned after our first mid-season break for the second portion of the season, and that ran from the 5th through to the 19th of December, starting off in Canada at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or what we like to refer to as Canadian Thruxton, in tribute to the British circuit in the United Kingdom not available in iRacing. Then we made our way to Germany for a double-header, starting at the Nürburgring Großer Preis der Strecke, or the GP Strecke, and then last time out on the 19th of December, just in the run to Christmas, it was the Motorsport Arena Oschersleben that played host to our drivers with its alternate layout, and that rather ghastly opening hairpin catching many a driver out. But fantastic race in Germany, no doubt about it. And with last week being the Christmas break week, we're now back for the final third of the season. 4 rounds of racing running on a weekly basis on the 2nd of January for the 23rd of January. We begin that today with the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours in France, and after today we make our way back to the United States of America for the US state of Florida for the Sebring International Raceway, making its debut in the NXTCC season calendar as well on the 9th of January. And then we make our way back to the United Kingdom for a British doubleheader to wrap things up. Start off our first ever visit to the Grand Prix layout of the Silverstone circuit on the 16th of January, and on the 23rd we bring it all to a close at the Donington Park Grand Prix circuit, reviving the Grand Prix layout, of course, in tribute to the fact that it's going to be on the calendar for the 2024 BTCC season in real life. So what better way to honour that than bring it as our season closing set of races. But now let's look ahead to our standings, and as we can see here in the overall Drivers' Championship, it's Wojciech Swirydowicz who leads the way by 5 points from 554 to the 549 of Daniel Martin. Now, of course, last time out, those of you who've got sharp memories will remember that Daniel Martin was not on the grid, and he used the last round as a drop score round, with all the drivers entitled to 1 full round of drop scores. Swirydowicz has taken the lead, and all these scores now do take into account the latest drop scores for each of our drivers. And when it goes to show is that our top 2 are starting to break away, albeit they have a 36-point gap ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula, who's moving to P3 for the first time this season and is looking strong, the Semper Racing driver, in support of Swirydowicz, his teammate. However, he's got the fight on his hands with the fact 3 points behind him is Adam Delman, and Jamie Dory is only a further 5 points behind. And Jamie Dory is only inside the top 5 based on result countback, with there being equal points to reigning champion Mikey Doble. And we keep in mind that Dory and Doble are both two-time champions, both looking for that third championship, but there's many drivers sparring for the first crown, including brother Joseph Doble there on 495 points, 10 behind the top 6, and he's got an advantage of 9 points over Dan Mould, who we're not expecting on the grid today due to unexpected circumstances, but happy to see that Dan Mould's doing okay, and well, I think he's going to be tuning in from the side. But from Dan Mould then, we have a sizable gap to Benjamin McCluskey in P9, who fights on to chase down the top 8, and Gavin Garner completes your top 10, with results not necessarily going his way over the course of the season thus far, and with his drop score being taken in the previous round, it does mean that Gavin Garner's now got his work cut out for him in the Audi RS3, the sole Audi inside the top 10. But outside the top 10, P11 best rest is Paul Zanatachi ahead of Lee Horn, with the leading prime driver Isaac Doble in P13 in the overall championship ahead of Nick Clibbins. It's then William Guthrie who completes your top 15 ahead of Luciano Vitford, and then we can see what is there Alex Meredith, P17, the second prime driver, and right now trying to keep a tenuous touch inside the top 15 in his hunt to try and chase down Isaac Doble. Sam Smith, Daniel Downey and Matthew Addy complete your top 20, and then we come to outside the top 20 where it's Martin Shirley who completes the run of P21 and 214 points, 12 clear of Reece Watt, with Russell Fowler a further point behind, and then Sam Van Olst in P24. A difficult time last time out for Sam Van Olst after what has been a brilliant first half of the season, but the wheels start falling off the proverbial bus slightly at Oschersleben, and he'll be looking to bounce back tonight, as will Alan McCain, who found himself right in the thick of it for the most part, but the results not going his way at Oschersleben either. Outside the top 25, P26 is Ben Altrier on 147 points. He's got a 24-point advantage over close rival Jake Calais, who we're expecting to perhaps be on the grid a little bit later on, albeit he's been caught up in some traffic, I believe, on his way home, and therefore he may not make it to the first couple of races, but we're rooting for him, as indeed we are for Ian Manners, the JW Motorsport driver who continues to put from strength to strength and has moved ahead of Fraser Elphick. The top 30 is rounded off by Paul Scott on 113 points. And there's a further 7 to Andrew Pike, who sits ahead of John Higgins Jr. with Duncan Rise P33, ahead of Michael Lace and Alex Everett to P35. And there's Matthew Sheraton, Wayne Douglas, Stephen Fry, Raffle Sarsht and Luke Jones to complete your top 40. And then not to forget those outside the top 40, we've got Mark Sykes, Harlow Bicknell, followed by Damon Mulqueen, and then Harley Gaylor, followed by Mark Kent, Jonathan Collins, Craig Tillotson, Jake Pitt, Callum Jenkins, and what is there, Chugoslevsky in P50. And then as we can see, P51 is James Mazescow ahead of Don Joy with Nigel Stock, and then Scott Malcolm completing the run to P54, ahead of George Watson, Peter Greenwood, Gabriel Yilmaz, Ian Wild and Adam McNally wraps up your standings. But then coming on to the Pro-Am Drivers' Championship, the IMB Racewear Championship as it's titled in honour of our sponsor for this season. And as we can see, Isaac Doble leads the way on 682 points. Can anybody stop Isaac Doble? That is the big question, as he continues to use his combined pace and consistency proving hard to match, but Daniel Downing right now feels like he's the one to take on Doble for that championship crown, sitting a further 62 points behind. But from then, it's Matthew Addy on 477, 7 clear of Sam Smith, with Alex Meredith sitting in P5 right now and hoping that fortune goes his way after a strong start to the season being undermined by a difficult mid-season. Sam Van Olst sits P6, with that difficult round last time out cost him dear. Alan McCain is close on the hump, 3 points behind, and it's a sizable gap there with 17 points to Ben Altree in P8 ahead of Paul Scott, with Duncan Rise completing your top 10. From the 402 points of the Goldwyn Motorsports driver, it's only a further point to Best Jay Clay in P11, who's ahead of Matthew Cheverton, and then Alex Everett, who continues to rise up through the ranks after some great performances at Oschersleben. He now sits on 318 points in P13 ahead of Fraser Elphick, with Luke Jones completing your top 15. It's Mark Sykes, Stephen Fry, Harlow Bicknell, Raffle Sarsht and Craig Tillotson who complete your top 20, and then as we come to outside the top 20, it is none other than Andrew Holmes who sits P21 ahead of Jonathan Collins, and in James Smadzesgow sits P23 ahead of Peter Greenwood, and then we do have Callum Jenkins at P25. From there, it's Ian Will P26 ahead of Mark Kent, followed by George Watson, and then Harry Gaylor P29 ahead of Piotr Jugoslevsky P30, and there's Jake Pitt, Scott Malcolm, Gabriel Yilmaz, Nigel Stott and Dom Joy who complete your standings. And then coming on to the Teams Championship, let's not forget this, and it is very close at the top. 1 point separates NXTGEN Racing Pink from SRL NXTGEN, the two teams going toe-to-toe. But it'd be rude of us not to say that a further 7 points behind sits Semper Racing, and their championship campaign for the Teams Championship proving just as provident as their drivers' campaigns for the overall Drivers' Championship. Double Sim Racing, meanwhile, fall to P4, the lowest they've been in the championship so far, but we say it's the lowest they've been, but keep in mind, they are only, when it's the best part there, of 47 points off of the leaders right now. Any one of these top 4 teams could win the championship. But then again, it'd be rude of us not to also consider RD Simsport, who've fallen to P5 on on 913 points, but they've got an outside chance, and their battle today is to keep behind the conglomeration in P6 of Brabham Esports, Performance Link Esports, and Affinity. So next gen with Sam Cases sit P7 on 707 points ahead of iRacing Esports in their close rivalry for P7. Next Goldwyn Motorsport and JW Motorsport will complete the battle for P9 and wrap up your top 10. Outside the top 10 is 450 points for Full Tilt B Motorsport as they try to push their way back inside the top 10 as soon as possible, ahead of Aztec Racing, next Crest Autosport, P739 Motorsport, and the conglomerate of FR20 Sim Racing, Mally Motors, Whiskey Runners, and Sergi Sim Racing, who complete your team's championship stands in P15. But let's come on to our circuit for today then, and we are here at the Magny-Cours circuit, known in full as the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, but located near the town of Magny-Cours in the Nevers region of the Bourgogne-Franche-Comté state of France. This circuit, as we can see from the brilliant circuit map produced by iRacing.com, thank you to iRacing for their brilliant simulator and the track mats that come with it, is a circuit that's absolutely packed with corners. 17 corners in total, and many of them named after international circuits around the globe, and indeed borrowing elements from said circuits or paying tribute to them, whether it be the Estoril corner from Brazil at turn number 3, or indeed I believe in fact from Portugal we should say, and then making our way up towards Adelaide at turn number 5, Nürburgring at turns 7 and 8, we've also got the Imola chicane at turns 12 and 13, but it's not just about elements borrowed from others around the world. This circuit's also got some unique corner sequences in the form of the Grande Curve at turns 1 and 2, also the run into the Complexe du Lycée at turns 15 through to 17 to complete that. There's many corners to love here and plenty of batting action available as our drivers make the way on through, but as they charge away around the 2.74 mile circuit, they'll find themselves under a tantalising technical test, for as they charge away into the Grande Curve, it's all about managing the throttle through turns 1 and 2 before switching into the long right-hander of Estoril at turn number 3. Now, drivers want to get a late apex before going flat out all the run down the Gulf Straight in towards Adelaide hairpin at turn number 5, and next we're expecting potentially 3-4 wide at the best of times, and as our drivers make the way out the hairpin, they'll charge their way up towards the infield and therefore to the Nürburgring chicane at turns 7 and 8. Mounting the curves then, they'll need to be careful to keep the car on 2 wheels and not go flying onto 1 wheel, but as they make the way from the right into left, it's into 180-degree corner at turn at number 9, the hairpin there, which is all about braking as late as possible to then send the car out full throttle through turns 10 and 11 into the Imola chicane as they rise uphill through turns 12 and 13 into the Chateau de Hue hairpin at turn number 14, another major braking battling zone, and as they make the way down the back straight, down the chicane straight into Complexe du Lycée, it's going to be the Lycée hairpin at turn number 15, while they make the way through the small chicane at turns 16 and 17. We can expect a few bumps and grazes between drivers as they go too wide to complete the lap and do it all over again. But let's give you a quick reminder of the rules. We can't go racing without them. This is a fixed setup series with all setups provided to drivers ahead of each and every round, and driver classes have been finalised as the conclusion of round number 3. Now, sprint race grid wise, the race 1 grid shall be set based on results of qualifying, that's a given. The race 2 grid shall be set based on the results of race 1, with the reversal position being drawn live from between P6 and P12 in the commentary booth. We'll talk more about that a little bit later on today's show. And we do the same for the race 3 grid, except the reversal position from the results of race number 2 will be between P13 and P23. Each driver shall have 1 fast repair available in each race, and each race shall conclude after the allotted lap amount, which is 12 laps or 30 minutes, whichever one expires first, and we're expecting it to be 12 laps or approximately 20 minutes of racing. Now, we can also see race stewarding is in effect, and an independent race director is watching the races for track limit infringements and deployment of the safety car, and penalties for track limit infringements will go first and second warnings, there's no penalty. Third through to 5th warning there, you can see an upscaling of the penalty all the way to a drive-through on the 5th warning, and that drive-through penalty must be served within 3 laps. Meanwhile, racing incidents shall be reviewed at post-round. We'd also like to remind you that we do have success bars in effect as of all the racing in both the overall and Pro-Am classes. For qualifying and race number 1, the success bars is applied based on the championship standings. For race 2, it'll be based on the official positions of race number 1, and for race 3, it'll be based on the official positions of race 2. So it's an ever-evolving success bars, and that means you can't rig the results in your favour. You've got to take the points whilst they're there, and indeed make the most of every single result. Now we can see here, again, just a quick reminder, success balance wise for the overall championship is 56.1 kilograms to the overall championship leader. That's what Wojciech Swirydowicz will be taking to the circuit today, all the way down to 4.7 kilograms for our 10th place driver in the form of Gavin Gardner. In the Pro-Am class, it's 32.5 kilograms of success balance for the championship leader. That's what Isaac Dole will be taking to today, all the way down to 5th place and 4.7 kilograms. And we should remind you that if a Pro-Am driver does finish inside the overall top 10 and they happen to pick up what will be success balance for overall finishing position, which is greater than their Pro-Am finishing position, or vice versa, they will always take the greater success bars, and that's what puts this championship right on a pinnacle when it comes to close racing. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we head back to our live pictures here. Qualifying is underway, and we do apologise for the fact that qualifying has got underway a little bit prematurely today, but that's due to a slight clerical error. As our drivers get ready, then we go into qualifying already 4 minutes complete, 11 minutes to go, and let's say hello to you guys and girls tuning in, including there in the Facebook chat and also on YouTube. Vilmos Blau, who was excited to join the racing today. And Vilmos, we haven't quite gotten you on the grid today, but make sure you join the NXTGEN Racing Discord and let us admins know that you want to be on the grid, and I'm sure we can find a place to get you on the grid for round number 8. And well, good to see you tuned in. We also say hello there to Average Sharpie, who's cheering on Andrew Pike, who made his debut at Oschersleben and did a fantastic job. And we also say hello there to Jones86, who I do believe is Luke Jones in the YouTube chat, who's cheering on the JW Motorsport drivers. As all our drivers get set and absolutely attack the circuit as they make their way on through. We're focusing on this man, Wojciech Swirydowicz, the man who leads the championship by only 5 points. Now, why is he the focus of attention? Well, he's the championship leader, firstly, but he has proven to be an unstoppable force no matter what is thrown at him. And at Oschersleben, he definitely demonstrated that with some of the most vicious pace that we've seen from any driver running the maximal success balance going into a given round or close to it. I believe he went into the championship round in second, when he coming out as your championship leader, and he's definitely found a way to make that Elantra dance to the tune of 56.1 kilograms being loaded into the car. And as he makes his way on through the Imola chicane there, well, today the test will be on him. Can he find a way to continue to qualify up the front of the field and potentially pick up top 5s, if not wins or podiums, in order to keep his championship standings up on high? Well, that'll be the task he's confronted with, and I get the feeling he may just be able to do that. But it's not just about our championship leader. We also do look to our other drivers out there. Indeed, defending champion Mikey Doble right now making his way through, currently P2 in this qualifying session with the best part of 9.5 minutes left on the clock. And as he makes his way around there in the Doble Sim Racing Hyundai Veloster. Indeed, this car right now proven to be the all-rounder that we've seen all season versus the Elantra, which is the stoic driver machine in terms of one-lap pace, but it doesn't quite have the tyre life towards the end of the races. But right now, we can expect the Velocitors to go quite strongly here at Magny-Cours, because there's a little bit of everything in this circuit, and therefore, that's what the Velocitors good at. It's a jack of all trades, master of none. As he makes his way to the timeline, does he improve this time around? As he crosses the line, it doesn't look as though Doble does. More lap times coming in already, down to P10 then. Remember the fact this qualifying session is definitely iterative, and therefore we're expecting those times to continue to evolve. And when you do consider that track temperature right now is a rather hot, I do believe, as we look to the right side of the screen, and we can see it is a rather hot 41 degrees centigrade for an ambient temperature of 22 degrees centigrade. Well, right now this track is absolutely boiling, and that means the tyres definitely will only be good for 1 or 2 laps in order to be able to get the most out of them when you push them hard. But beyond that, you may need to come into the pits to put a fresh set on, unless you can gradually evolve the tyre over the qualifying session. I think many of our drivers will want to absolutely nail it immediately. But one other thing they'll want to nail here, and that is a big point, is slipstream around the circuit. In the fact we do have a number of extended acceleration zones, including the run out of Adelaide all the way up into Nürburgring, which you'll see Doble make his way through, sliding his way through the chicane there, absolutely attacking the chicane right on the ragged edge of adhesion, as he brings it together right now with a number of acceleration zones here. Being the time of another driver for the length of each straight will be worth 2 to 3 miles an hour, and it could be worth the best part of 3 to 4 tenths come the end of the lap. But meanwhile, as we look to our primes, we've got one driver off at the moment. This is Craig Tiddleston making his way back on. That's coming out of Adelaide from the Honda Civic tyre bar. And we are expecting the Honda here to be a very strong car in the race, but not necessarily in terms of qualifying. For the simple reason, with its straight line speed deficit around here, it definitely will feel the pinch on the longer straights. However, where this car will go very well is into those heavy braking zones, and we have multiple heavy braking zones. We're seeing one here in the form of turn at number 9 at 180 degree, and as he makes his way on through the hairpin and onwards, well, right now Craig Tiddleston continues to get himself acquainted with the Honda Civic tyre bar, having made the switch to the Honda come was the midpoint of the season, and it's definitely seemed to bode well. Some of his best results at Oschersleben, and he's continued to push high and trying to push for what will be some top 10 finishes in the Prime class. As he makes his way on through Imola, heading towards the midpoint of this qualifying session, we're going to get some onboard laps for our drivers very shortly, and well, we do look to Stephen Fry here, the P739 Motorsports driver, as he makes his way on through the Complexe du Lycée, the legendary trio of corners. And when you can see the start-finish line practically on the exit of the chicane there, it's a very little time. You've got to make your move into turn 15 on the Lycée hairpin. You can't wait to do it through the chicane, because the race will be over before you know it. And as he makes his way through turns 1 and 2 for Grande Curvo, right now currently sitting in P27, always P10 in the Prime class. And for the uninitiated, so you may be wondering, how do we discern who's a Prime, who's a Prime? Well, on the timing tower, we have the cheat code here, which the fact you have this, our drivers don't, of course, when they're out of the circuit. Our Prime pros are denoted by a light green sash. Meanwhile, our prams, such as Stephen Fry, are denoted by a purple pink sash. On the cars, you'll notice they do have little white inlets on the window banner, and that will be stated Pro-Am there. Meanwhile, our pros don't have that on their window banners. But as we do see Stephen Fry making his way on through turn at number 5. Meanwhile, we look to Russell Fowler, the Performance Link Esports driver, the Audi RS3 driver, one of 2 mainstays of the Audi RS3 towards the front of the field, albeit saying that, and we should correct ourselves earlier, saying that there was only one Audi RS3 in the top 10 in the form of Gavin Gardner. In fact, there were 2, Jamie Dory being the other one in P5, and we do apologise for that slight error. But as we do see Russell Fowler making his way on down towards turn number 15, onto the brakes he goes, and as he does so here, well, right now looking for a run of good fortune. He's had quite a bit of misfortune in the last couple of seasons, and now in the pro class here and looking to deliver up the front of the field as he makes his way on through. But as he does so, we're going to jump on board with what is one of our drivers very shortly for a flying lap, as they are all starting to come on through. And from one Audi to another, we jump on board with Gavin Gardner as he takes us around for a flying lap of the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours. Making his way into turn at number 1 and immediately coming from as wide as possible into Grande Curve, balancing the throttle in 5th gear as he now heads into Estoril corner, braking nice and gently, trail braking, drops a gear, lets the car turn on and get the nose in, and then mount the apex curve down the exit of 3 and just let the car run out as much as you dare as he now goes flat out down the back straight of Golf and up towards the Adelaide hairpin. As he builds his way up through the gearbox, going all the way into the top gear, he'll bring the car over to the left-hand side and look for his brake marker into the hairpin, and it'll be one of the white stripes on the ground. That'll denote 150 metres from where he's broken all the way down to 3rd gear. The other cars will be going to 2nd, but the Audi's gearing means it's better to stay in 3rd, and as he makes his way out of the hairpin, now all the way up towards the Nürburgring chicane. Now here, it's going to be about the apex curves and the fact they're very high and they can bounce the car around. Into turn 8 he goes, clipping the first one and then riding over the second. Absolutely pinpoint precise as he goes onto the brakes for turn number 9, coming into 180, and as he gently meanders the car towards the apex, staying in 3rd, mounts the curve there very high as he makes way through now through the kink of 10, and flat out he goes up towards Imola chicane. And this chicane being very unique in the fact it's a dip before a rise. You'll notice he goes over the rise into turn number 12 and now dipping down into the apex of 12 before the car rises into 13. So you're essentially going off camber in 2 different directions in quick succession to unsettle the car, but not unsettling Gardner as he brakes 100 metres from the Chateau de Hou corner at turn number 14, and as he accelerates out 3 more corners await him as he makes his way down the chicane straight, building up the throttle here, but I do believe lifting off, in fact, not too happy with how the lap's gone as he makes his way down. We're going to ride on board to the very end, but I think this is going to be a lap that's getting him prepared now for the next one as he makes his way through Complexe du Lycée, breaking about 130 metres of corner apex and then straight lining over the chicane curves there at turn 16 and 17 to complete lap and do it all over again. It was a great start to lap for Gavin Gardner, but it wasn't a great end to lap as he makes his way into Grande Curve once again. But meanwhile, one driver who's just made his way to the pits, I do believe, he's immediately, I think he's a little bit shocked to this, P3 and prime pole position right now, goes to full tilt emerge Ben Altria, who drops to P4 with Andrew Pike jumping up the order, but Altria doing a phenomenal job as meanwhile, the man who typically associated with the Sim Racing Collective, but racing for iRacing Esports this season, and I do believe we're going to see TSRC back on the grid for season 6, rumour has it, albeit not confirmed yet, so don't take my word as gospel. But here is Andrew Pike, the man who made a debut, well, it was his debut in this season, we should say, albeit he's been on the grid previously in season 4, but making his debut for season 5 last time at Oschersleben and shaking things up. And as he makes his way on down, we'll see a message there from Mark Kent in the YouTube chat saying, what a lap from Ben, as then Ben Altria, and what a lap indeed, putting himself 2 tenths off a pole position, man. And well, here is your pole position driver of Dan Mould as he makes his way in to the left hand there of 180 in the toe of Mikey Doble, and Mould right now for SRL NXTGEN, a man who means business. And in fact, we said he may not be on the grid, but he definitely is on the grid here. You can see him now, so I think he's been able to sneak his way on in. And those unexpected circumstances going away, and it's absolutely great to see here on a 149.351 as he comes on through, and as he does so, heading up towards turn at number 14. I think many will be surprised to see him on the grid, and we definitely are, but we're all the better for it as he comes on through the right hand at a turn at number 14 and down towards 15, 16, 17 he goes. But as he does so here, we'll attempt over Benjamin McCluskey right now. Can anybody find a way to dethrone Mould from pole position? Well, we'll have to wait and see. But meanwhile, as he heads on down, and we say hello to Handsome Shoot there, who's looking good as always in the YouTube chat and says less hair means less resistance and get on fish, and I believe that might be in reference to Andrew Bite. Well, Mould runs a bit wide there, a bit too much speed. He did go purple in sector 2, but that run wide at sector 3 has invalidated laps, and Mould right now is cooking up something even faster, and as he makes his way down to Estoril corner here, what could it be? Could it be a 48 potentially? Well, goodness me, if so, that I think would send reverberations not just through this grid, but through the entire NXTCC annual book. But as he makes his way up towards turn number 5, we go from talking about Anorax to talking about drivers here and now, and meanwhile a bit further down the order for JW Motorsport right now is Norman Harley Bicknell as he chases on around there. The Audi, his teammate I do believe of what is, unless I'm mistaken, Reese Watt. Reese trying to give his teammate a little bit of a boost along the straights here, and we know that Elantra is quite strong, and Bicknell still getting used to the car, making his debut. Oh goodness me, and contact between the two teammates under braking there into Adelaide hairpin. I think Bicknell perhaps just missing his braking zone, and as a result, well, that is going to be tears for the pair of them there, unless or what had to brake a little bit earlier due to an issue with the car. But either way, both of them in arrears now. But meanwhile, we look to affinities at Paul Zanatachi as he makes his way up towards the Imola chicane here. This will be for the final time in this qualifying session, given there's only 30 seconds left on the clock, and as he weaves and winds his way on through, a very smooth run there in the absolute beautiful livery machine, going through the right hand and now turn number 14. As he does so, those rear brake discs absolutely glowing red hot. You know he's pushing it hard, but right now, can he get higher than P11? Can he find a way to get inside the top 10? How high can he go? That's the big question as the clock goes 5, 4, 3, 2, and then what will be 1, and that is the end of the qualifying session. William Guthrie gets across the line, and meanwhile Zanatachi into the pits. He's not happy with that. Joseph Doble, meanwhile, is happy. He carries on. He's currently P10. Can he improve? No, he can't, and there's more drivers coming through here. Well, Mikey Doble goes provisional pole on a 49.348. It is 3,000 between him and Mould, and keeping in mind that Doble right now having a sizable bit of success ballast in the car, as is Dan Mould. Well, there's nothing between the two of them. Can anybody else spring a late surprise? As meanwhile Alan McCain goes P2, flashing lights there from his teammate behind. Well, I think right now McCain very happy with that. That puts him P2 in the Pro class, P11 overall. We've also got a couple more drivers making their way on through, including what will be Jamie Dory here, albeit he's backed the car off, and was he makes his way on down. Well, right now Jamie Dory, I think, just resting the car and perhaps gifting the tow to one of his teammates. Russell Fowler heading on through. I believe Fowler is on a valid lap here, and well, a question there in the YouTube chat from Luke Jones 86, I do believe, which is, doesn't Cheverton have a pit lane start? We will need to double check that. I'm not 100% sure myself. I must admit, Jones, but we'll try and find out as soon as possible. But if so, well, that P29 will see him immediately demoted down the grid, albeit he will lead to a blank pit starting point on the grid. But we have had confirmation from race control in my ear that Matthew Sheraton does have a pit lane start for race number 1, so that is confirmed, and thank you to race control for that. So therefore, good observation there, Jones 86, and that will be confirmed. But meanwhile, as we look to Benjamin McCluskey, he's going to be one of the last drivers to get a lap on the board here as he makes his way on through. He's currently P3. He's gone green in sectors 1 and 2. Can he find it right at the end? Can he steal away pole position here? Well, as he crosses, no, it's not enough. It's a 49.372, but look at that for the battle for pole position, ladies and gentlemen. 300ths is not going to cut it. It is down to 2.5 hundredths and 3,000ths between the two on the front row, and Jaroslaw Cebula makes his way on down into the final braking zone here of what is the Lycée hairpin, and as he does so, he's going to be coming into the pits. This is a cool down lap. Russell Fowler snuck into P17 right at the end of the session as well, so that's qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen. It is Mikey Doble on pole position by 3,000ths over Dan Mould, and Benjamin McCluskey just following up in the end at 200ths behind. Meanwhile, in what is the prime class, it is Ben Altria who takes P6 on the overall grid, his best ever qualifying position, and the full Tilby Motorsport driver has got a sizable 5 places between himself and second place prime driver Alan McCain for iRacing Esports, with Daniel Downing for what is Goldwyn Motorsport taking the P3 slot, P14 on the overall grid. So the grid is set. Russell Fowler here just cooling down and bringing the car to the pits, but I think he might be brought to the pits or forced to it very shortly as the racing's about to get underway. But we have got a cracking grid ahead of us, and well, race number 1 is just about to start. So as our drivers make their way to the grid, this is how they'll line up for our first race of the day. It is Mikey Doble who takes pole position here in Magny-Cours for Doble Sim Racing ahead of Estoril NXTGEN's Dan Mould. On row at number 2, it will be the pairing of Benjamin McCluskey for NXTGEN Pink and iRacing Esports' Andrew Pike, with William Guthrie starting P5 for Full Tilt V Motorsport, and joined on the third row of the grid by Pro and pole sitter, teammate as well, Ben Aldria. Daniel Martin starts P7 for RD Simsport ahead of Semper Racing's Wojciech Swirydowicz, with Jaroslaw Cebula, Swirydowicz's teammate starting P9 behind, and Joseph Doble completing your top 10. It's then Alan McCain who starts P11 best of rest for iRacing Esports, ahead of Paul Zanatachi P12, and on P13 it'll be Gavin Garner for NXTGEN Pink, just ahead of Daniel Dannon for Goldwing Motorsport. Jamie Dory for NXTGEN Pink and Matthew Addy for NXTGEN with Sam Cases and make up your 8th row, with the prime being followed up by the pro pair of Russell Fowler for Performance Link Esports and JW Motorsports Reese Watt, and the top 20 is completed by Alex Meredith for RD Simsport and Martin Shirley, his teammate, P20. Lee Horn starts P21 for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, followed up by Isaac Dole for Doble Sim Racing, and then Stephen Fryer P23 for P739 Motorsports, joined by Ian Manners for JW Motorsport. We then do have Adam Delmont starting P25 for Estoril NXTGEN, ahead of Mark Sykes for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, and then Sam Van Alst for Goldwing Motorsport starts P27 ahead of Duncan Moraes for his teammate P28. P29 goes Matthew Sheraton, who will be starting from the pit, ahead of Harley Bicknell, the Aztec Racing driver, just out qualifying the JW Motorsport driver. We then do have Jonathan Collins starting P31 ahead of Craig Tillerston, and then it will be on the final row of the grid, Piotr Jugoslewski ahead of Alex Everett, and that's how your grid will start, ladies and gentlemen. 36 drivers, albeit 34 of them in fact, with the other two being the safety car and the race director as listed there, but the grid is all set and ready to go, and well, we are only about 10 seconds away, and we have had an update to say it's 11 laps of racing here, not 12, and well, as we get all set and ready to go, it is going to be fast, it's going to be furious, it's going to be off the line between all the drivers, but the question is, who will be leading come the run into Adelaide? Well, here go the lights, it's time for race number 1, and it's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go for the first race of the day as Mikey Doble gets a good start, but look at Mould on the inside as they head into the Grande Curve. I think Mikey Doble is going to have the lead here as they roll on through. Meanwhile, Benjamin McCluskey looking around the outside, trying to get the inside of Estoril as everyone makes their way safely through the opening corners, 2, 3 abreast in some situations, but as they break their way down, Jaroslaw Cebula having to go defensive versus Joseph Doble, who tries to look for a way through. Meanwhile, Matthew Addy going very, very sideways as he comes through Estoril. He runs wide, he's onto the dirt, and as a result, that's going to compromise his grip levels. He makes his way on through, but as the field charges its way now down the back straight, with Daniel Martin here in a 3 wide versus Ben Aldria and also Wojciech Swirydowicz, and as you can see there, William Guthrie trying to get in the mix, Guthrie trying to go around the outside as they make their way down towards the braking zone. Meanwhile, coming hard on the anchors, McCluskey on the outside versus Mould, and as they make their way on through, all the drivers here charging their way through the Adelaide hairpin, all making it safely on through, 2, 3 wide towards the rear of the field. We do have Harley Bicknell and Duncan Moraes taking it slowly out the corner, but everyone has made it on through the hairpin, and as they make their way in to what will be the right left of Nürburgring, that is Andrew Pike who moves on through and takes P3 of a Benjamin McCluskey, the top 4 breaking away, but behind as they make the way on through. Meanwhile, William Guthrie here, currently in P5, the Full Tilt V Motorsport driver doing well to hold on to P5. He's got long line cars. Meanwhile, car pointing the wrong way in the rear of the picture. That's Matthew Addy who's had it go very, very wrong, and I do wonder if there's a bit of contact with Isaac Doble as they make the way on through 180, given the fact we saw the two of them very close together, but that could just be the camera angle. But as our drivers make the way up through Imola, as we can see now, Guthrie trying to break away from Daniel Martin onto the brakes. Meanwhile, Pike up the inside, and my good lord, a very rapid move from Andrew Pike, but you're going to see Dan Mould make the cutback run down through the chicane here as they head in towards turn number 15, into Lycée they go, and as they do, coming roaring on down onto the brakes for the first time of asking into this very tricky 3-corner sequence. We'll Mould back on the inside, but this is going to buy Mikey Doble time to run away and give him the opportunity to really smoothly get those tyres up to temperature as they make the way onto lap number 2. So after one lap, it is Mikey Doble who leads ahead of Mould, followed by Pike, then McCluskey, then Guthrie, followed by Martin, then Swirydowicz, then Jaroslaw Cebula ahead of Ben Aldria, who's your P9 prime leader right now as he makes his way in towards turn number 3, and there's Paul Zanatachi P10, Gavin Garner P11, Alan McCain just behind, and McCain under pressure from Jamie Dory as they make their way onto lap number 2, and as they roll on through, well, you can see the iRacing Esports driver right now sandwiched between the NXTGEN Racing pink pair of Audis, which is Gardner chasing down down with Paul Zenatachi, and then behind him is Jamie Dory, albeit Alan McCain between the two of them right now. And I think the two teammates would like to be together rather than separated by the prime, but as they come down onto the anchors here, Dory looking up the inside of McCain. Will McCain fight it? He turns on in. Dory's got his nose in as they make the way through. They give each other enough space, and as they make the way out to the corner, Dory being held to a standstill once again. Meanwhile, further back, we look into the rear of the pitch, and that's Sam Van Olst battling with Isaac Doble. As we can see, the Goldwing Merciful on the left of your pitch are battling side by side into Nürburgring. They go. Who's going to back out? One of them will need to back out here. They're going to go side by side into the corner. Van Olst dances over the curb, and as he does so, runs a bit wide. Isaac Doble fully committed, but he's got Stephen Fry in the back of him. Fry sees an opportunity, and he says, why don't I go for it? And all fair to him as he looks up the inside of one, he looks up the inside of two, and Stephen Fry could get both of them here as he makes his way through 10 in towards 11. Flat out on the throttle he goes. It's the battle with the Elantra, which has no success bars versus the Veloster with plenty of success bars. And right now, Fry trying to go around the outside, contact between the two, and Fry was slightly wide, their elbows out, and Isaac Doble having to dig in deep. Meanwhile, that was Mark Sykes going straight to the barrier out of what was Imola. Not quite sure what's happened there, but it's drama for Mark Sykes. As meanwhile, we look back to Stephen Fry, who made his way ahead of Sam Van Olst, but after that contact of Isaac Doble loses the position, and now Ian Manners trying to look for the moving turn as they make their way down towards Lycée once again. We'll try and get a replay of what exactly happened to Mark Sykes very shortly, but a dramatic end to his race. He has had to be towed to the pits, but as our drivers make the way on through the Complexe du Lycée for the second time asking onto lap number 3 they go, and Magny-Cours right now absolutely delivering on this stage, and there's a reason why it's been on the TCR Europe calendar in the past as they make their way down towards turn number 1 once again, and we have a replay of what happened to Mark Sykes. This was in the charge in towards the chicane as they made the way through, bouncing over the curb, and the car just coming loose as he dropped it off the apex curb of the start of Imola, and as a result, the next one was Sam Case's driver in a dramatic end to his race. But as we look back to your live pictures now, ladies and gentlemen, more battling further up the field, and Jaroslaw Cebula and Andrew Pike exchanging places, as Cebula now taking the place of a Pike as they make the way through Adelaide, and as they do, P7 going the way of the Polishman, and the Briton just watching from behind at this time, I think looking for the next opportunity to try and get involved as they make the way up towards Nürburgring. But as they do, meanwhile in the rear of your picture, that's Alex Meredith battling side by side with Reese Watt. It's the prime chasing after the pro, flashing his lights there. Meredith is not happy. He's stuck behind the JW Motorsport driver right now. He wants to make progress. He wants to chase down Daniel Downing, who's 4 places up the road. But the problem for the Briton here is in the fact he just can't quite get them through. He's going to try and go for it versus Watt. A bit of contact between the two of them here, and Watt going all in terms of holding on. Watt's got his own aspirations, which is to chase down Lee Horn for P14 in the pro class. But remember, pros only get points for overall position. So right now, Watt wants to finish inside the top 15. Indeed, all the pros do, because that's where the points are, P15 upwards. But as they make the way out of the aim of the chicane, right now Meredith just not able to knock his way through. Indeed, having to play the patience game here, but as he does so, meanwhile a little bit further back, Matthew Addy on a charge as we jump on board with the next gen with Sam Case's driver as he fights with Jonathan Collins for P10 the prime class, P28 overall, and with Matthew Addy with that spin at the start coming on through 180, it went very, very wrong, and right now he's trying to turn things the right direction. But as he comes down into the Lycée, is he going to look for the move here versus what is the Veloster in front of him? I don't think so. I think he's being made to wait with also Harley Bicknell just in front, and Bicknell's got the toe of Piotr Jegoslewski as well, but Addy gets a better run out the corner. He's going to run a bit wide here in order to try and go for the move as they make the way 2 wide down. Well, Collins there backing off and letting the place go to Addy, respecting I think the fact that he wasn't going to be able to defend it in the end, or he cost them both too much time in doing so. And as they do, well, they've got the ever encouraging presence of Matthew Cheverton, but Aztec Race in mind in the 390 car, who right now is trying to push on after that pit lane start. But meanwhile, let's not forget about the fact we've got plenty of battling at the front of the field, and here is your prime leader Ben Ultrier, who right now is being gradually shouldered down the order little by the pros around him. He won't mind this too much, but he'll be cognizant of the fact that Alan McCain is getting closer with every lap pass. Onto lap number 4 of 11 right now. It's a long race to go, and as they make the way down in towards Nürburgring chicane, Ultrier looks around the outside of Zenatachi. Zenatachi sliding around after bouncing off the apex curb, and as they make the way through here, Ultrier right now seeing Gavin Gardner's rearview mirrors, and then he's going to notice it's Alan McCain next. I would imagine that right now Gardner's not going to get the most obliging opportunity to make his way past the 504 Elantra for the simple reason that Ultrier's got a race to win, and he will want a pro between himself and his rival. As they make the way in towards Imola, all the drivers right now coming in nose to tail, no opportunity to move this time around. Indeed, I think everyone just patiently waiting for the next opportunity, waiting for an error. But as we ride on board and look back from the rear Ultrier's car, you can see how close Gardner getting on the power there, coming out of the Chateau d'Eau hairpin. And that goes to show the Audi driver's got a little bit more pace under his sleeve, and I think he's feeling more confident in the Audi. Altria, meanwhile, just making the car nice and wide right now, taking his typical racing line and just muscling the car through these corners. And we'll also have to be aware of the fact it's a very hot circuit. 40 degrees centigrade is the track temperature at the moment. And as they make their way on through the chicane, right now those front tyres on the Elantra definitely will be feeling the heat more than its rivals, and that could lead to a bit of a significant drop-off in tyre degradation, and therefore overall grip on the front end come the final 2 to 3 laps of this race, and that's where the Elantras will feel the biggest pinch of them all. But as they make their way through Estoril corner, notice the difference of lines there. Altria taking a much tighter line, Gardner going much deeper through the corner. It means that Gardner gets the better exit, but look at the delta he's now got to overcome in the toe. He's got to overcome 3.5 tenths. The Audi will do this gradually, but the Elantra's no slouch, and Wozana charging 8 tenths up the road from Altria. He's got a distant toe, plus the Elantra's faster 5th gear, and that all combined together means that Altria will feel safe as they make their way under braking. But as they do, meanwhile, we look a bit further back to Adam Delman battling side by side here with Isaac Doble. Doble on the inside on the left of your picture, Delman on the outside, and Isaac Doble here battling hard for the position. He wants to try and keep himself ahead of a couple of pros. He doesn't want to fall into the clutches of the Knowles, Meredith and Fry. And also, remember, he'll want to try and hold some overall positions. He won't be able to inherit the reverse grid this coming the end of this race. In fact, it's only all the way through to P12, if that, depends on the ball draw. But at the same time, he'll want those places for the second reverse grid when we go to race number 3, where it's all the way out to P23. Alternatively, it could be all the way down to P13, but somewhere within that space. And right now, Isaac Doble, I think, playing the bigger pitch here, rather than focusing on just this race. As they make their way through, Delman now in the battle with Martin Shirley as the RD Simsport driver, looking up the inside in towards Imola chicane. And as they do, the 2 Hondas go in, but only one's going to come out leading. It's gone very, very wrong for what is there. The driver in the RD Simsport machine having to catch the car, and it goes absolutely terribly wrong for Martin Shirley. And the RD Simsport driver going around, gets the car gradually away from the wall, but that is going to be a painful one, just dropping the car off the curb. And we know that Honda is so sensitive to raised curbs. But meanwhile, we look from it towards the back of the field, back towards the very front, and this is Doble ahead of Mould still. That's Mikey Doble out of the 3 brothers as they make their way into Grande Curve. And as they come down to Estoril, these two still 5 attempts is the gap between the two of them. Mould taking a much more aggressive tight line there for Estoril corner. Doble going for the deep run to get the better acceleration out the corner. And you'll notice there that whilst he loses 1.5 attempts in the run through Estoril initially, he now gains a temp on exit. He's got more top speed, and this offsets the toe that Mould gets. Now Mould is gradually gaining, but notice how it's only on the final third of the run through Gulf. That's where he gets the overspeed. It's not enough at that point, and that's what Mikey Doble is perfecting here. He's just simply focusing on making sure he gets the better run out of Estoril for the long straight, and that way he doesn't have to worry about going defensive into Adelaide, which is the corner. If somebody's going to try and send it on the brakes, you do it there. But as they make the way on through, meanwhile, Wojciech Swirydowicz continues to pick his way through the field. He's picked up 2 places overall so far. He's now into P6, and the Semper Racing driver, well, despite the weight that's in that car, he's definitely right now making that car go very rapidly indeed. And well, I think many around it we wondered, is there actually weight in that car? We can definitely tell you, yes, there is. But as they make the way off through turns 9 and 10, right now the Polishman's definitely not showing it. But as they head in towards Imola, we're coming down towards the braking zone. Behind him is Jaroslaw Cebula, teammates, who's got a little bit of a rear gunner as well. And Semper Racing will be on for some great points here if things finish as they currently stand. And that's what it's all about as they make the way in towards the Chateau corner for the 6th time of asking. I think Martin's going to be looking more and more in his rearview mirror and keeping his eyes on this championship rival. Remember, going into this round, only 5 points separating the two of them. Come the end of it, will it be the same delta, or will it be more, will it be less, will they change places? Well, that's all to play for here as they head down towards turn number 15. But as they do, meanwhile, looking a bit further down the order, we do look to Sam Van Olst, who chases after Ian Manners in the battle for P23. But really, this is a 4-way battle for what is P21 with Alex Meredith just a little bit further up the road and trying to run away, with Stephen Fry now being the one under pressure from Ian Manners as they make the way on through turn number 15. A purple lap being set by a P3 driver of Benjamin McCluskey at 49.33 to the nearest 100. But Van Olst glued to the back of Manners' car. The Audi driver's going to look for the move. He decides against it into Grande Curve. I think his target is to get past Stephen Fry. He wants to use Manners as the proverbial battering ram in order to do so, where he'll want Manners to get out the inside into Adelaide potentially, and then do the same move in turn, whilst it's going to be Stephen Fry's off the racing line. So Van Olst right now trying to set himself up for a move to potentially pass 1 if not 2 drivers, but Manners just not able to get himself close enough to Fry coming out of Estoril corner, and that's cost him Van Olst's time. And I think he's got to make a move soon, either to get past Manners or really give Manners every chance to try and close up, because time is trickling away here. And got Milan left, and looks to the inside. He's had enough as he goes in, all in on the brakes as they do. Manners onto the grass, having to snatch the car to the left in order to avoid contact with Stephen Fry's car, and Savinos moves up to P23, but goodness me, an absolute dramatic moment there, and we take a look back at what exactly happened to Ian Manners. This was under brake, and as Manners went into the corner on the brakes, I think noticed he was coming in a bit too late on the brakes there, and then to snatch the car to left to avoid contact with Stephen Fry was very respectful there for Manners to make sure he didn't end Stephen Fry's race, as well as take himself off the circuit, and Manners there doing everything right to avoid a nasty bit of contact. But as for Knowles making haste into P23, we return to your live pictures, and as we do so, meanwhile, in terms of a little bit further behind, Matthew Addy now looking for a move on Piotr Jaroslawski as they head in towards the Chateau de hairpin at turn number 14, and the next gen Sam Casey's driver up the inside, late on the brakes he goes, but seeing the spot, and Jaroslawski turns in only to find the left-hand side door panel of the next gen Sam Casey's Veloster immediately there, and all's fair it would seem as they make the way down towards turn 15, but Addy right now not wasting any time as they head in towards the next braking zone. Now, as they do, we're hearing that there's been an incident for Daniel Downing, as I'm to understand it. I'm not quite sure what's happened to Daniel Downing, but he has been involved in some sort of incident. In fact, he hasn't. He's still racing this. There might have been a bit of latency, which has caused him to be registered as what would be in an incident, but he hasn't been. He's racing P15 right now, P3 in the prime class, as he pushes on, as he charges his way on down the Gulf Straight here. His next target is Joseph Doble in the pro class, albeit Downing right now also focused on chasing out Alan McCain. Was all the way up into P12, so right now Downing trying to chase down another spot on the pro and podium, but as time trickles on here, not long left in this race, given the rate of knots which they're completing the laps right now. A bit further Isaac Doble looking up the inside here of Adam Delmont, trying to move himself into P19. These two have been fighting for some time, and right now Isaac Doble can't really make any further progress against prime drivers. In fact, he's got Alex Meredith 3 seconds behind, but I do wonder whether the Doble Sim Racing driver is going to now start to think, do I need to actually fight Adam Delmont, given the fact that Alex Meredith could become a looming threat on the last lap or two. And to put you in perspective, that last lap, 9/10 of a second was the difference between Isaac Dolan and Alex Meredith, and it was Alex Meredith who gained that 9/10. So if you keep up that rate of knots, you would imagine on the final lap, Alex Meredith is going to be there on the second half of a lap to try and make a move on Isaac Doble, which could be a danger here, and indeed a change of P4 in the prime class and P20 overall. As they make the way on through, Isaac Doble staying right behind Adam Delmont. I think just hoping that Delmont can find a little bit more pace in the car if he feels as though he's being thwarted in terms of progression. But as they make the way on through, meanwhile we look to Paul Zanatachi as we jump on board and look down over the nose of the Affinity Veloster, and right now chasing after Andrew Pine for P8 as they bounce their way. Goodness me, it's absolutely visceral with the way the car bounces over those apexes at what is the final chicane, as they make the way on to lap number 9. 3 laps to go here, and right now I can imagine the suspensions are not going to be in the happiest place. I think there might be some work in the garages after this race to get them repaired and race ready once again. Well, as he makes his way on through turn in number 3, well, we had to have a change for P2, and as Benjamin McCluskey has got ahead of Dan Mould. We'll try and give you an update on what exactly's happened there very shortly, but we do believe that Mould's under a lot of pressure. In fact, it's a slowdown for Mould coming out of Estoril that he's had to serve on the long straight, and the SO Next Gen drive defending hard on the inside versus William Guthrie. Guthrie trying to go for the podium here in the full tilt Motorsport Honda Civic Type R, but right now can't make it happen. Mould now back up to speed as they charge their way down towards turn number 8 as they make the way to the braking zone here. Well, side by side they go, rolling from right to left, and Mould absolutely digging in here. He knows he's lost a chance to chase down McCluskey and Doble for the win, but what he can do at this point is be absolutely obstinate and fight for the final spot on the podium. Guthrie, meanwhile, targeting what would be his first ever podium this season as he pushes on the full tilt beam Motorsport Honda Civic Type R, and therefore his goal right now will be to get under the skin of Mould and make that move happen, with Daniel Martin waiting the wings only 8/10 of a second behind. As they charge their way on through Imola, we say hello in the face, but there too, Craig Cook Sim Racing, or CC Sim Racing, fellow commentator in both sim racing and real life, a great chap as well. And right now, good evening to you, Craig, hope you're doing well as the drivers roar the way on through, and as they do so, making their way down towards turn number 15. On the run to the braking zone they go, and as they roll on through, meanwhile Gavin Gardner a bit further behind, side by side here with what is Ben Altria, and trying to make his way on past the prime leader. He's going to do so, but now can he make some progress onto Zanatachi in P9? Well, that's going to be the challenge here, but keep in mind as well, Altria now does not have any more buffers between himself and his prime rivals, and behind him for the first time in this race with 2 laps to go is none other than Alan McCain as they make the way in towards turn number 1. Now will McCain be close enough? Altria's going to try and glue himself to the back of Gardner and just try to slip every little mile an hour he can off the back of the Audi, but you can see there McCain getting it slightly wrong, and Dory trying to get involved and trying to get up the inside to make a bit more progress. Keep in mind that right now P P12 is the last of the eligible positions to reverse grid in race number 2. So Dory will want this of a McCain. McCain right now going to say, well, no, I want to go chasing after Ultria. Both of these drivers have got their own goals, and meanwhile you can see Ultria absolutely attacking the rear of Gardner as they make the way down. 2 by 2 they go into Adelaide, and as they make the way onto the brakes here, well, Dory ahead of McCain at the rear of the camera shot. He gets up into P12. Ultria now has got the comfort of Dory between himself and McCain, but for how long will that stand as they make the way up towards turn number 7 and 8, going in towards the Nürburgring chicane once again. Meanwhile, as this is all playing out, we have had a change for P3. William Guthrie's moving to P3, and here's the replay for how it happened. So as they made the way on through Estoril corner, and well, you can see their mould again having another slowdown to serve for track limits, it would seem, and therefore Guthrie just making his way on through, and we'll also talk about Daniel Martin coming on through in the end in the drag race, and the Honda, whilst it slammed the straight, and there was able to take the run without any questions asked. But meanwhile, as we return to your racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, live from circuit side, of course, and Ultria right now still on a mission to push on through, but Jamie Dory there, and also Joseph Doble behind, so I think Alan McCain at this point might be in a little bit of frustration, thinking, well, that's it, I can't exactly take on Ultria when I've got 2 pros between myself and prime leader. But as they come down, well, you can see they're flashing lights from Joseph Doble, I think trying to distract Jamie Dory, potentially trying to pick up a place at a distance, but Jamie's not going to be looking short in his rearview mirrors at that distance and worrying about it. As they come through 16-17, onto the final lap they go. White flag is waving, and therefore it's onto lap number 11 of 11 as they charge away in towards the turn number 1. We've still got plenty more battles going on further down the order. Lee Horn here, P17 right now, trying to get past Russell Fowler and Daniel Downing for an overall point in the championship as they come through turns 1 and 2. Well, right now Fowler with the same aspirations to overtake Downing, who goes very deep. Waits turn number 3, and he's going to be on the inside. Is Fowler as they make the way on through. Downing given the space to rejoin on the racing line, and as they make the way out of the corner, down the Gulf Straight they go. And right now Horn's going to be in the tow. He's going to have to pick a side. Does he pick the Audi or does he pick the Elantra? Well, he's going to go to left arm pitcher, and that means he picks Russell Fowler's Audi for the tow. Also looking at the inside to Adelaide. Meanwhile, Downing trying to outbrake Fowler and going all in on the brakes in the Elantra. It's going to be side by side to the apex, going for the cutback as well. Brilliant racing between these two as they make the way up towards turns 8 and 9. And as they do so, well, right now Downing on the inside into Nürburgring. Fowler coming across it, trying to squeeze as much as possible before opening the space back up. Downing gives Fowler the elbow, and Fowler goes straight onto the escape road, but Downing carries on here, and well, I think there might be a few words between the two after the race, but as they make the way on through 180, you can see also Reese Watt closing up on the back of all this, but as they roll off at 180, meanwhile we look to your leader, ladies and gentlemen, and there's Mikey Doe ahead of Benjamin McCluskey, William Guthrie in the chase just behind. Meanwhile, Dan Mould absolutely attacking the run out of Imola there, trying to squeeze back into P4 versus Daniel Martin, but I think it's too late in the day now for him to recover the place. He's going to have to do it again in race number 2 for as they make the way on down the hill. Well, the checker flag gets ready to wave, and it's going to be waving for this man who, after putting it on pole by 3 thousandths, he's going to lead it from start to finish, and the checker flag waves, and it's Mikey Doe who takes the first win of the day here at the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, ahead of Benjamin McCluskey and William Guthrie to complete your podium. Daniel Martin P4 ahead of Dan Mould, Wojciech Swirydowicz P6 ahead of Jaroslaw Cebula, and it'll be Andrew Pike ahead of Paul Zinatachi and Gavin Garner P10. But this man takes another prime win. It's Ben Ultria for Tilby Motorsport who takes his 2nd win in the prime class in his NXTCC career in a brilliant start to finish drive in the lead of the class. Alan McCain will take P2 prime, P14 overall, and it will be from the iRacing eSports driver Daniel Downing in a solid P3 finish for Goldwing Motorsport, P15 overall, so getting an overall point as well for the final of the top 15 positions. And as all drivers come to the line, well, we have got a couple more making the way through, including Piotr Jaroslawski for Semper Racing, the Czech Republic driver, enjoying a great battle at 4P9 in the prime class, ahead of Ian Manners in the end. And well, as we have our last drivers heading to the line, Duncan Rise making his way down for Goldwing Motorsport right now, and the South African driver having a bit of a difficult first race today, but he's still got 2 more to go this evening, and he'll keep his head down and push on as he makes his way to the checker flag there, P30. And from the Goldwing Motorsport driver, we do have what is Martin Shirley and Mark Sykes, both right now a little bit further down, both having difficult first races today, but they'll both also be thinking about the 2 races that are to come. And will Sykes, after that near miss at the barrier, well, in fact going into the barrier we should say at Imola, meanwhile Martin Shirley avoiding the contact with the barrier but having to catch the car and then reverse it out the gravel, well, these 2 will know they've had a scare and they won't want any more of that in our 2nd race of the day as they come to line at P31 and P32 respectively. as they cross the finish line. Well, there's all your finishers on the lead lap, ladies and gentlemen. And well, as Mikey Dole makes his way to the pit lane, a fantastic start to what is his final third of the season. And the Doble Sim Racing driver will definitely be saying, I want more of that, as he comes on down pit lane. And McCluskey and Guthrie in tow, and Guthrie with his first overall podium of the season. My memory does serve me correctly. And well, as Ben Alltrier makes his way on through the Full Tilt Motorsport Garage, I think he's going to be absolutely ecstatic right now. I can imagine Mark Kent in the YouTube chat is getting ready to celebrate already. And well, can he potentially make it 2 wins out of 2 in the next race? That'll be the change that confronts him. But keep in mind that Alan McCain was there to keep him honest, but the iRacing Esports driver just wasn't given the chance to take the fight to the eventual Prime Class winner. And Daniel Downing a bit further behind in P3. We feel as though it's a solid podium to go with a great start to the day. But as all our drivers make the way into the pit, we take a look at those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, of which there may be a couple, but here are those results. And as we can see, after our first 11 laps of racing, round number 7 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing and powered by IMB Racewear, Mikey Doble taking the win for Doble Sim Racing by 7.5 tenths over NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey. William Guthrie P3 for Full Tilt Motorsport, ahead of Daniel Martin for RD Simsport, and then Dan Mould completing a top 5 there for Estoril NXTGEN. Semper Racing's pair, Wojciech Swirydowicz and Jaroslaw Cebula, P6, P7, and a great points haul for the team, and both drivers there picking up some good points despite their heavy success ballast. And then Andrew Pike, P8 for iRacing Esports, and 9. It was a strong start, and he'll want plenty more of that as he goes into race number 2. Paul Zanatachi fighting through to a P9 for Affinity, another solid result for him, having started just outside the top 10, and Gavin Garner completing the top 10 there for NextGen Pink, with Ben Alltrier in the end starting P6 on the grid, but finishing P11, but he's not going to mind that for Full Tilt Motorsport, because he's best the rest, he gets some overall points, but most importantly, he picks up the Pro and win, ahead of Jamie Dory and Joseph Doble, and then Alan McCain, your second place Prime driver, P14 for iRacing Esports, ahead of third place Prime Class finisher Goldwing Motorsport, Daniel Downing. Reese Watt P16 ahead of Russell Fowler, with Adam Delman in the end spending a lot of time fighting for P18 and getting it for SRL NextGen, and along the way having to fend off what was the company of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Racing, who was 4th place in the Prime Class, and Alex Meredith 5th place Prime finisher and top 20 finisher there in P20 for RD Simsport. Goldwing Motorsport, Sam Van Ols, P21 in a great start to his day in France, turning around the misfortunes of last time out ahead of Stephen Fry, with the next gen with Sam Case, Matthew Addy ahead of Piotr Jacobs-Selewski, and then Ian Manners, Harley Bicknell, Matthew Sheraton, Craig Tillerston, and then Lee Horn and Duncan Rides completing your run to P30. From the Goldwing Motorsport driver, Martin Shelley P31 ahead of Mark Sykes, and then retiring with 6 laps to go, Jonathan Collins for Risky Runners Racing, and unfortunately not able to make it off the grid, Crest Autosports Alex Everett with a premature retirement there and will be classified as a non-finisher, as will Jonathan Collins for not completing over half the race distance. But that was our first race of the day, ladies and gentlemen. Absolute thriller of a race, no doubt about it. And we've got plenty more to come this fine Tuesday evening. In about 15 minutes' time, we'll be going to the grid for our second race of the day. But we're going to be back sooner than that for the build-up to race number 2 and to get some thoughts from our drivers. So don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss race number 2 that's coming up. But firstly, a quick word from our sponsor before we do go to our brief break. Now, we almost caught you out there, but we did that intentionally to see if you'd be paying attention about a reverse grid draw for race number 2. And, well, as we get ready to go for our second race of the day, we couldn't just go to our break without doing our reverse grid draw. It'd be impolite to us. So, for the uninitiated, we do have our lottery bowl here with the numbers 6 through to 12. And we're going to very shortly close our eyes, shuffle the balls around, and pick a ball out of the bowl. And that will be our position for the reverse grid for race number 2. So, let's do it. That's the shuffle, and now we do the draw. And our first number of the day is going to be the number 9, which means that Paul Zanatachi for Affinity Racing will be taking pole position for what will be our second race of the day. So we're midway through that reverse grid, and we're looking forward to seeing how it plays out, but it's going to be an all-pro top 10 with Ben Alltrier starting P11 behind. So it does mean it'll be an interesting second race of the day, and the Affinity Racing driver have an opportunity to fight for a podium, something we've seen him chase for in the past, but never be able to achieve. But could this be the day where the Affinity Racing driver gets a podium? We'll be back in approximately 7 to 8 minutes' time for the build-up to race number 2, and we'll talk you all the more through it. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. We're back for plenty more racing action here in France at the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours. Race number 2 of round 7 of the NXTCC, brought to you on iRacing, powered by IMB Racewear, is going to be getting underway in just under 3 minutes time as we get set and ready to go once again. Well, all the drivers are out of the circuit right now, getting themselves set up and ready, and well, one man is absolutely pleased, no doubt about it, about coming third in what was our first race of the day. William Guthrie for Full Tilt V Motorsport as he makes his way on through. Indeed, the Full Tilt V Motorsport garage lighting up like fireworks on New Year's Eve. There's no doubt about it with their performances in race number 1. But whilst we do have a quick moment, we are going to try and catch up with one of our drivers. We are going to try and get a word with, I do believe, will be none other than Dan Mould for what was a challenging race number 1. If we have got him out of the circuit at the moment, although I do believe he's currently in the pit lane, we are going to try and grab a quick word from him as we get ready to go racing up once again. And as we do try and catch him now, Dan, do you have time for a quick moment?
Oh, hello there.
Just a quick one for yourself going into race number 2. Race 1 that looked a bit challenging, great pace at the start, but a couple of pesky slowdowns seemed to hold you up midway through the race.
Yeah, I raced this track many months ago, and I got on tonight. I did a few laps, and that was my nemesis, that corner. I thought I was doing well for the first few laps, and then I was just trying to push. Yeah, I just took the curb a little bit too much, and then again the lap after. But it is what it is. Top 5 map with that. But yeah, some great pace by some of them lads. Looking forward to the second race.
We're looking forward to the second one. 1.5 minutes to go. It's a top 9 reverse grid as well, and you're going to be starting in amongst the middle of it. What's your expectations for race 2?
Stay out of trouble, and I'm going to try and either pick off people where I can. There's not many places to gain on this circuit. So you've got to wait for a mistake, which people don't seem to be doing at the top. So I'm just going to, if I finish top 5 again, I'll be happy. But with the added weight, it's going to be difficult with the guys behind me. So we will see.
Well, Dan, we look forward to seeing how you get to the race 2. With that, we'll leave you to it. Good luck for the race.
Cheers, Paul. Bye bye.
So hearing there from what was Dan Mould as we look to his teammate Adam Delman out of the circuit and get some quick thoughts from the Estoril NXTGEN driver, and talking about the challenges of those track limits in race number 1, and he's talking about the limited time he had to get ready for this race day, indeed limited practice time, but also looking to stay out of trouble for our second race of the day. That's always a good place to be, there's no doubt about it. As he gets set, indeed his teammate Adam Delman gets set. We'll try and catch a word with some of our other drivers after this second race, there's no doubt about it. And we've had confirmation, ladies and gentlemen, that with regard to what was Alex Everett, some pedal issues in race number 1, which led to him having to abort his start from the race, but he should be back on the grid for race number 3, which is fantastic to hear. So it does mean we're going to be seeing all 36 other drivers in full splendour come the final race of the day, as the checkered flag waves on this warm-up in preparation for race number 2. It's time to go racing once again, and who will be the winner of the second race of the day? Let's find out. So as our drivers make their way onto the grid, this is how they'll all line up for our second race of the day. It's Affinity's Paul Zenatachi, who starts on pole position for the first time this season in a reverse grid at P1, ahead of iRace Esports' Andrew Pye. Jaroslaw Cebula starts P3 for Semper Racing ahead of teammate Wojciech Swirydowicz, with Dan Mould starting P5 for this Estoril NXTGEN ahead of RD Simsports' Daniel Martin. We then have on P7 William Guthrie for Full Tilt V Motorsport ahead of NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey, with last race winners Mikey Doble starting at P9 for Doble Sim Racing. Gavin Garner starts P10 ahead of what is Ben Altrier there, with the NXTGEN Pink trial completing a top 10, and the Prime Pole Sitter starts P11 for Full Tilt V Motorsport ahead of Jamie Dory, but the NXTGEN Pink trial starts P12 behind him on row 7. It's Joseph Doble and Alan McCain, with Daniel Dannon and Reese Watt on row number 8 ahead of Russell Fowler and Adam Delmont, and the top 20 is completed by Isaac Doble and Alex Meredith. On row number 11 is Sam Van Olst and Stephen Fry ahead of Matthew Addy and Piotr Jegoslewski, and then we have on row number 13 Matthew Addy, what is there, Ian Manners and Harley Bicknell. We're going to stop the run through, ladies and gentlemen, because the lights are going on. It's 1 red light, it's 2 red lights, it's 3 lights, 4, 5. and it's lights out, and away we go for our second race a day. As pulls down a touch, he looks to get a good start on the outside line. Plenty of grip available, and as they make the way into turn number 1, he leads as Andrew Pike meanwhile defends versus Jaroslaw Cebula into the opening couple of corners. But as they roar the way on through, we look to the blimp camera here as all the drivers come under the Dunlop blimp, and as they do, well, meanwhile, a bit of a run wide there, but was Jamie Dory. Gavin Garner meanwhile fighting his way around the outside, battling side by side Mikey Doble here, who makes his way on through. Run wide there for Jamie Dory, and that's going to slow him down, there's no doubt about it, but as they all charge their way down the Gulf Straight and up towards what will be turn number 5 at Adelaide. Well, as we look to the foreground there, that's Swirydowicz versus Cebula as they come down in to that braking zone, and as they do, well, Swirydowicz on the inside here, Cebula giving him the space, and meanwhile Daniel Martin up the inside there of not just Dan Mould, but also with Cebula in turn. The Audi Simsport driver trying to drag race his way up the order, but can he do so? That'll be the big challenge confronting him, and will Martin in the end have to back out there, but it was worth the 2-for-1 special attempt, but right now couldn't quite make it work, and only able to go for the 1, but meanwhile Guthrie there getting very wrong, sliding about as he made his way through Nürburgring, catch the car in time, but that could have been tantamount to disaster, but in the end he will lose a place. He'll lose a place to Benjamin McCluskey as they make the way onwards through turn number 10, as McCluskey gains through 180 and up through the kinks they go. Meanwhile, further behind we've got places being gained by Isaac Doble, who makes his way past Alex Meredith, and these two fighting each other. We saw battles between them earlier on the season, and Isaac Doble right now finding himself squaring off once again against his fellow young racing driver here. These two, the youngsters of the field, and right now showing the veterans see their years are not to be judged in terms of how much experience they bring, but Isaac Doble comes in very hot on the brakes into the side of Jamie Dory there as it looks like a bit of a concertina. McCluskey's gone deep and wide. Now we're not quite sure what's triggered that. We will get a replay when we can, but as a result, as they make the way down there, there's going to be some damage to the cars, but meanwhile, a leader of the Prime Plus, this is Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsport, who's moved his way all the way up to P10 since this race start. We're going to need to take a look back at that, but he's your Prime leader as they make the way to lap number 2, and as the drivers charged away into Estoril for the second time of asking in this race, what it is as follows. It is pulls down a touch, who leads ahead of Pike, followed by Swirydowicz, then Cebula P4 ahead of Martin, then Mould in P6. We then do have Guthrie at P7 in the second pack of the field ahead of Mikey Doble, followed by Gardner, and Daniel Downing completes your overall top 10 as your Prime leader. P11 meanwhile, it's Russell Fowler best of the rest, and then you have second place Prime driver Alex Meredith down in P16, Isaac Doble just behind him. So right now Daniel Downing has worked some absolutely brilliant magic to take the lead and run away with it in the Prime class, but there's still more magic to be had here as meanwhile Mikey Doble on the inside of William Guthrie into Adelaide, up to P7 he goes, and as he does so, another place game for the 88 driver, a bit less weight in the car he would be hoping for, but he's still got the maximum possible success balance right now after the winning race number 1, and Doble making it happen as he makes his way in towards turn number 7, dance the car through. You can see there how the weight just pins the car down going on through the Nürburgring chicane. It's practically sliding on ice compared to its rivals, which are able to glide through it and take a little bit more verticality, and as they make the way on through turns 9 and 10, well, right now Mikey Doble leading the long train of cars in that second pack that goes all the way back to effectively what is P23 if you count the 1.3 seconds of Ben Altrier to Alex Meredith joining the field together. Speaking of which, in the rear of the picture, that's Ben Altrier battling with Isaac Doble, and Isaac Doble right now trying to look for a way through. He can't quite find it going on through what is the Imola chicane there as they make the way up the rise and into the braking zone for the Chateau d'Eau, and as they do, Alan McCain here will right now started P2 in the class, drops a long way down, and the iRacing Sports driver finds himself in a bit of a tussle as Sam Van Olst tries to come through, as does Matthew Addy. All these brands right now have an opportunity here to finish in top 5 in class, if not on the class podium, and they're all eager to shine and do so, but keep in mind as well, they're all fighting right now for place inside a potential top 23 reverse grid. It's anywhere between P13 and P23 when we do the draw, and as they make the way onto the start finish straight, charging down towards turn number 1 they go. Meanwhile, the rear of the picture, that's Martin Shirley going sideways, coming on through the final chicane, and meanwhile Matthew Sheraton makes his way on through. That's going to be Harley Bicknell and Stephen Fry as well. Free wide into turn 1 they go, but Fry backs out in the end. Bicknell takes 1, he takes 2, and he gains what will be P27 of Martin Shirley and also Stephen Fry, but Fry says no you don't and comes back into Estoril corner, and as they make the way on through, well, right now Shirley cutting all the way to the inside, and Bicknell losing out as a result, and now Fry's going to come on through as well, and as they roar their way, it's going to be the battle with the Elantra drivers behind in the battle for P11 in the Prime class. We'll look a bit further up the field shortly. We're aware there's a lot of battling going on in the bottom end of the top 15. 15 as they make the way down towards the Adelaide corner. Well, Fry right now digging in defensive lane while Bignall behind, and we keep an eye on Jaroslawski, who's looking up the inside. Piotr Jaroslawski goes around the braking. Shirley's gone deep. It's 3 wide on corner exit, and as they make the way on throw, right now these prime drives, they're battling for scraps of points, but to them it means a lot. Meanwhile, Martin Shirley's just trying to carve his way through and go hunting after the top 15 overall. But it looks like things will settle here, and Jaroslawski not able to make the move count in the end. Meanwhile, Matthew Addy, another difficult start to his day on what is lap number 3. It's gone very wrong for the next gen with Sam Casey's driver. We need to get a replay of that shortly as to what's happened, but that Veloster definitely looks damaged. But meanwhile, coming from one driver's had a damaged race to one driver fears right now that his championship points might be damaged here. It's Jamie Dory looking up the inside. There's Joseph Doble going quite slowly in the middle of the road going to the Chateau de corner, and I do wonder if the 13 driver here right now will be feeling a bit of pressure on Rees-Watt behind as they make their way down to the Complexe du Lycée, given the fact that Watt was right there all over the back of him going onto the run through Chateau de but now seems to have backed off a bit in the Concertina. But as they roll the way through into the chicane they go, bouncing away over 2 wheels, they roll on through. They're absolutely incredible the way they're able to keep it under control. And as they make their way onto lap number 4, right now things could not be more intense at the front of the field, but as they come on through, meanwhile the big question we have is what happened to Ben Ultree at the start of this race. We take a look back at the race start. So off the line they went, and as they did, Trier having a slow start by the looks of things. Well, in fact, not a slow start, just towards the back of the field. Now, is there a bit more to this story than meets the eye? Because come the end of the first lap of the race, it dropped a long way down the order. Jamie Dory had made his way through, and well, as they came on through the corners here, Dory making his way past. Where is Ultrier is the big question. In fact, Ultrier got back at, was just tucked in behind. I think it may have been on the run down the straight. This is where we started to see the place lost. Ultrier taking a bit of grass there as he cut his way through. Still battling with what was Jamie Dory at that point, and look behind, Daniel Downing right behind him at this point. Downing having the best launch of everybody off the line, and as they made the way under braking here, Downing up the inside for the lead of the prime class. Ultrier gets around the braking, car going sideways, and that was Isaac Doble getting it wrong. I think there was a bit of latency contact between drivers as well, but that's how Daniel Downing took the lead of the race in a brilliant start for the Goldwing Motorsport driver. But we can't dwell on the past anymore, we must come back to the present, and as we return to your live racing, we look to your race leader here, Paul Zanatachi for Affinity, who right now looking to try and keep Wojciech Swirydowicz behind, but Swirydowicz goes for the classic cutback out turn 14. It's going to be a drag race down to the Complexe du Lycée, but Swirydowicz is on the inside, and this could be punishing for Zanatachi as they head into the brakes. He's going to go as late as he can, Swirydowicz, and will there be a response here from the Affinity driver? Can he cut it back into the chicane? He tries to, but it's not enough, and the lead goes the way of the number 80 as they head across the timeline onto lap number 5, and Zanatachi here for all his efforts has got to slow down for track limits. That's going to drop him a long way down the order. We have a new leader, and it's heartbreak for the Affinity driver who's looking for his first podium of the season as he drops to P4, and it's going to be even more pain as Dan Mole looks up the inside into Estoril corner, and he's going to take P4 off of him, or it's going to be a drag race at least. They make the way on through. Mole there trying to squeeze Zanatachi as wide as he can, giving them the bare minimum space allotted as they make the way on through. Respect shown between the turbines. They make the way through Golf and up towards Adelaide here. The top 3 already running away, but you can see Jaroslaw Cebula right now trying to find his way past Andrew Pike, trying to make it a 1-2% for racing. Meanwhile, Mould on the inside here as he looks up the inside of Zanatachi, and as they come out to the right hand, he gets the move confirmed. Meanwhile, Daniel Martin now on a run as we jump on board with the RD Simsport driver looking over the nose as they ride on towards Nürburgring. As they head in towards the turn at 7-8 chicane here, Martin right now knowing he's got the brakes on the Honda, but that's all he's got with a pack of Hyundais in front of him. As he comes on to the brakes here, decides to go nice and deep, let the car go for a nice late apex and getting the cutback here. Just again the best possible launch of the corner. This is the closest he's going to get, and with the Honda now he's got to try and brake about 10 to 15 metres later if he can in order to go for the move here as they make the way in towards the braking zone for Imola. And that's the thing about this Honda, what it lacks on the straights, it definitely makes up for in the medium and low speed corners. And Martin thinking about it time and time again. He gets so close, he can reach out and touch the rear bumper of his rival as they make the way onwards towards turn number 15. Well, right now, not quite able to find a way through and having to wait his turn. But meanwhile, looking from them, we do look down to Adam Delmont a bit further back here. He still fights with Joseph Doble, and Joseph Doble right behind the Estoril NXTGEN driver as Guthrie in front of them, P10. Third place finisher remember, in race number 1, but starting from what's PC on the grid for race number 2. It's been a bit of a backwards run. Meanwhile, as they all make the way through a bit of a latency issue for Daniel Downing, season briefly dropped to the bottom of the standings, but he is still P9 overall, we should point out. As they make the way on through, Adam Delman here still behind in P11 as they head in towards Estoril for the 6th time of asking. But from them, we look back to Benjamin McCluskey, who right now trying to fight his way past Isaac Doble, the pro, trying to pick up the pro-am as he cuts back for Estoril. Through the long right-hander they go. Very tricky corner to get right time and time again. And McCluskey now looking to the inside, but do keep in mind he's got the 2nd place success pass. That's the best part of 49 kilograms in that Veloster versus rival, who's going to be carrying the best part of what will be about 15 kilograms of success pass. And as they make the way down towards the braking zone here, we can see the weight differential. McCluskey in the end having to essentially force the car up the inside under the brakes, albeit Doble giving them the space and time of day, but still McCluskey there having to leave it so late, and that is what the ballast does in 2 cars that are separated by practically 30 kilograms. It just makes it so hard to get alongside even on the long straights when you're at equal machinery. But meanwhile, as they make the way on through, we do look from these guys to a little bit further down the order, and in particular to Stephen Fry, who definitely has been a man on a mission to say the P739 Motorsports, trying to pick up places, and he's looking for a move on Matthew Sheraton here as they head on through the 180 corner turn at number 9, riding on the rear of his fellow Audi driver. And as they make the way off the apex and now towards Imola, a bit too close down, I think a brief bit of contact may have just cost him at the opportunity to go on the attack, going up towards the Imola chicane, as he now has to back off at a distance of what is about 4 tenths. As they make the way through right into left and head onwards now toward the turn at number 14. From them, we look back up the order and we look all the way back up to Paul Zanatachi in P5, who right now has got colossal pressure on him as we ride on board and look out the rear view mirror, the rear window from Zanatachi at 2. What is there? The encroaching RD Simsport machine of Daniel Martin as they come into Grande Curve. The 7th time now as they roll on through turns 1 and 2, down towards turn 3 they go. Zanatachi going deep, and look at the difference there under braking of the Honda as Martin's lights flash. I think that might be there, the emergency lights coming on board and anything else, but they make the way out of turn number 3. Well, right now Zanatachi trying to out-drag the Honda, feels so he can do it, but here comes Martin as he looks up the inside space, given the inside, he's going to have to go all in here on the brakes. That's the only way he's going to get this done. And as they make the way onto the anchors, well, Martin still there. Zanatachi trying to break his rival. Now looking for the cut back here as they switch back for the right-hander. And Daniel Martin takes P5 in a classic run up the inside, making the most of the Honda's leverage under braking. But from them, meanwhile, William Guthrie still in a fight with Adam Delman, as in fact Adam Delman has just found his way past William Guthrie into the Adelaide hairpin. And as they make the way through the right into left of Nürburgring right now, well, the number 97 driver here tucked on the nose, his fellow Honda driver, and meanwhile what is Joseph Doble right behind. Joseph Doble having a little bit of a quiet pair of races so far, nothing major to really shout home about compared to results of some of his peers in front of him. He'll be looking to try and get involved there and try and take a P10 finish as they head upwards towards turn number 12. As they make the way on through into the right, left they go. Well, as they do, Jamie Dory waiting behind, waiting to pounce here as the next gen pink Audi driver, and coming in towards the braking zone. On the defense goes Joseph Doble. Dory looking around the outside here. Can he cut it back, or will he be made to wait? He's made to wait. There's Joseph Doble, just simply parks the car on apex and says, no, I've seen that one plenty of times before. And as they make their way down, they stay as per the status quo. Well, the point being now that time will be lost for Dory and Joseph Doble versus what will be Guthrie, as Dory takes a quick look up the inside into 15, can't find it and has to feint it out in the end. But meanwhile, as we look from them, this is Dan Mould on the right of your pitch, who's just taken his defending P3 versus Jaroslaw Cebula, but I think there's a slowdown being served by Mould coming on through the chicane, but Cebula goes wide as a result, and as he does, Dan Martin comes on through, Mould takes P3 back, and right now what was potentially a run for the battle for the lead now becomes a four-way battle for P3 between Mould, Martin, Cebula and Zanatachi. Meanwhile in the foreground, you just saw Swirydowicz go through, you just saw Pike go through, they're P1, P2 respectively, but right now Dan Mould has got all the pressure on him as he charges his way down towards the Adelaide hairpin. But as he does so, you can see Martin looking around the right hand side, the Honda driver trying to go around the outside, using the brakes once again here, but he's made to go the long way round, and Martin extends the corner out as much as possible, makes Martin back out, and as a result now that's going to bring Cebula into the mix. That's also going to bring Zanatachi back into the mix as they make the way on through, but as they do, no change between them. Meanwhile, a bit further in the rear of your picture, That's Alex Meredith right now in a bit of a lonely P15, but it's an overall point on the cards, plus also second place in the prime class for him if he carries on this way, and I think he'll be more than happy to see that coming to 44 as he's battled his way into P2 in class and has just run away with it since taking the position. But as he does so a bit further back, Ben Trier right now, after what was a difficult start, dropping from the lead of the prime class down to P3, but remember, he does have the maximum success balance in the car, 32.5 kilograms. He's getting acquainted with it as well. I do believe this may be the first race he's run this season with that weight in the car, and therefore it will be definitely punishing, because I do believe his original win came in what was race number 3 of the day, as he makes his way out through the full tilt. Be motorsport driver right now, be feeling the weight and feeling the pressure, and keeping eyes that don't want Sam Van Olst behind. And speaking of Van Olst, the Goldwing motorsport driver is looking in front of him right now. The number 92 must be thinking surely there's an opportunity here for him to finish third on the podium. All he needs to do is pick up Isaac Doe and Ben Trier, although we say all he needs to do, it's one of the hardest things to do when you're taking on the championship leader, plus also a driver who's definitely shown his credentials today. And as they make their way through the Complexe du Lycée, we can see here the Audi chasing the Veloster after what is the Elantra, and right now 3 different machines all close together, with Alan McCain only 6 tenths behind in the Hyundai Elantra. It's great to see the variety here at the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, and right now all of these machines all showing their respective strengths and weaknesses as they come through Granite Curve and into Estoril. As they do, Van Olst here deciding to go nice and deep initially, but just fighting the wall of understeer as he makes way. Finally finds the right-hand apex in the end, but it takes a very long time to do so, and that cost him a huge amount of time to run off the corner as he powers his way up from the gearbox. Now you can see closing up rapidly here. The Audi pushing on as much as it possibly can up into top gear. That's where all the acceleration sits. Isaac Doe going defensive, knowing that Van Olst is within attacking range, and therefore just making sure that the number 92 driver doesn't get any ideas. But that means all Trier will feel safe for at least another run of Adelaide, but perhaps not for the remainder of the lap as they make their way up towards Nürburgring. And as they do, meanwhile behind, this is Piotr Jigosleski versus Matthew Cheverton up the inside as number 79 driver, and that's going to be P24. What more importantly for him is P9 in the prime class. More points coming the way of the Czech driver. He can hold on, albeit Stephen Fry just in front, and Ian Manners a little bit further up the road to Martin Shirley closing, however, the pro driver. You can see in the rear of the picture as Jigosleski goes very tight in the run to 180. They're trying to put some pressure on Stephen Fry as well, and enjoying one of his better race of the season so far as the 79 driver in the Semper Racing Honda as he makes his way up towards Imola. But as he does so, meanwhile, from these guys, we look back up to Mikey Doble, who right now under pressure from Gavin Gardner, looking on the inside through the curve and down into the braking zone at 4:15. As he does so, the double sim racing driver right now having to stick his stake in the ground and defend as hard as humanly possible as they make their way on through. Onto lap number 10 they go, 2 laps remaining, and as they adventure around the circuit once more. Well, right now it's a sunny day in France, and will there be sunshine and smiles for double sim racing? It's looking positive right now for Mikey Doble after the winning race number 1, and a P7 that will be nothing to complain about as they come down for Estoril this time. But of course the change is on as they make their way through the right-hander upwards towards Adelaide. They charge, and as they do, Doble right now getting a very strong run at gaining half a tenth there and still gaining a bit more speed as Gardner finally starts to strike back in the toe, but the damage is done there. And right now the number 18 Veloster looking untouchable on the straight this time as they head down into the braking zone. But as they do, meanwhile Daniel Downing still under a bit of pressure as he tries to stay ahead of Adam Delmont. And the Goldwing Motorsport driver having also Joseph Doble to contend with. He is the prime in amongst the pros here as they head up towards the next braking zone of Nürburgring. And meanwhile a bit further back there's a bit of an instant. Oh goodness me. A bit of an instant here between Duncan Rise and Isaac Doe and Alan McCain. I think everybody stepping on each other's toes, and it was a slow run for Alan McCain. Isaac Doe comes on through here, but we're not quite sure how the story started, but we know how it ends. We're about to see it as they go side by side into Nürburgring, and Isaac Doe was showing no fear whatsoever to go around the outside of the iRacing Sports driver. Under brake and they go. Murray's looking up the inside, but meanwhile McCain goes all in return here. It's a counter attack from the iRacing Sports driver, goes all in into the inside of 180. He gets the right to be alongside on the exit, but it's a drag race now up towards Imola. Who's going to be the one to commit to what will be the run? Well, McCain right now, if he's going to go outside to inside through Imola, this is very brave contact between the two of them, and they come together, and with it, it's going to be with Isaac Doble off to the wall as it's a disaster for the 65 driver. But meanwhile, the driver who picks up all the pieces and more is Duncan Rise for Goldwing Motorsport, who moves into P5 in the prime class as Alan McCain drops down the order behind him. But as they make the way up to speed now, final lap is underway. White flag is waving as I look at my commentary booth, and that's Wojciech Swirydowicz who goes on to lead the final lap of this race. Meanwhile, from speaking about that, we then look a bit further up the road to Racewear, who's got Jamie Dory right behind him in the battle for Wood's P13. It's the battle of the two Audis here, and the JW Motorsport driver right now trying to dig in as much as humanly possible. As you can see, Dory there runs deep through the opening corner of Estoril, and as they make the way on through, well, right now Watt will be under a bit of pressure as Dory will get the better top speed out to the corner, but is he close enough? Has he got a long enough run in the toe? And it looks like the answer is going to be no, because I think right now Dory being handicapped to a degree by the weight in the car, and therefore it's not enough as he tries to feint and move down to braking, but Watt not falling for it, and instead just taking that traditional racing line as they all make the way through the braking zone. But from there we do have now Adam Delman versus Gavin Gardner just up the road. They're battling for P8 overall as they head into Nürburgring. It's going to be Gardner left of your picture, Delman behind. Delman cuts in at 9. There's not going to be a move here, but you'll know that in the SRO NXTGEN Honda he's got all the right to the inside coming into 180. If he can get it right into braking, he can't in the end. Oh my good lord, and that's Daniel Downing. That's Downing from the lead of the Prime class. As Medvedev comes up through in its contact, it's disaster for both of the Prime leaders. Oh my good lord, and right now Ben Altrier is only about 2 seconds behind. Altrier could take the win in the Prime class. He goes past them both. They're limping, and Altrier's got Sam Van Olst right behind him. There's only half a lap to go, and with drama at the front of the Prime field, right now Altrier's looking to make it 2 out of 2 with Van Olst chasing after him furiously. But whilst that plays out, we need to look at this man, ladies and gentlemen, because as the checker flag gets ready to wave, it's going to wave for one man. It's Semper Race's Wojciech Swirydowicz who takes the win in race number 2 of the day. 5 seconds clear in the end of Andrew Pike as Pike comes to line for iRacing Esports, and then it'll be Jaroslaw Cebula who completes your top 3 ahead of Dan Mould, Daniel Martin and Paul Zanatachi P6, Mikey Dole P7 ahead of Gavin Garner, Adam Dillon P9, William Guthrie P11 just behind Joseph Dole's P10. But the big question is who's going to win in the Prime class, and it's back-to-back wins in for Ben Altrier for Full Tilt Motorsport. As much as Sam Van Olst put the pressure on, he was able to hold on, and Van Olst takes second place in the class. P16 overall header Duncan Moraes with the Goldwing Motorsport pair in the end, making it a double podium, but it's not the way they have wanted it to happen, with their teammate Daniel Downing losing out on the win in the Prime class. But that's the way the chips have fallen. Meanwhile, Lee Horn comes on through to take P27 here for NXTGEN with Sam Cases, as we do have a couple more drivers to make the way to the finish line. Here comes Isaac Doble as well, P28 for Double Sim Racing, P10 in class, in what will be some points on the board for him ahead of Matthew Addy. And then we do have making the way on through to complete their races a rather bruised and battered Audi RS3 of Mark Sykes and NXTGEN with Sam Cases, and then it will be Craig Tillerston who'll be your last finisher on the lead lap, with the unfortunate retirement of Daniel Downing from Craig Tillerston for FR20 Sim Racing at P31. But goodness me, ladies and gentlemen, you could not ask, well said there from Jones86 in the YouTube chat, drama right at the end. And indeed, I can imagine for John Meredith and also Catherine Meredith in the YouTube chat, both cheering on son Alex right now. Very late drama and a bit of disappointment in the fact just not able to steer clear of the danger at the right time. But meanwhile, from drama to one driver who right now will be smiling in knowing that it's a result to be happy with. Wojciech Swirydowicz taking the win by 5 seconds in the end, and well, to be fair, to fight his way through, but after doing so, never looked back ahead of Andrew Pike, and with the iRacing Esports driver there adding another podium to his relatively short championship campaign, having joined midway through the season. But number 3 driver definitely delivering, and Jaroslaw Cebula making it a 1-3 for Semper Racing on the overall podium as they come through. Meanwhile, Ben Altrier is not going to believe his fortune to see a second win in a row today, and the Full Tilt Motorsport driver really will be pleased with that. Sam Van Olst in the end at second place in the Prime class, a great drive from the 92 driver, and he'll be looking for that first class win soon, there's no doubt about it. And Duncan at Moraes as well, picking up behind his teammate. It's a 2-3 in the Prime class for Goldwing Motorsport, a solid performance from them and the 2 drivers as well in their respective championship campaigns. They couldn't ask for more. But this man right now, as he limps the car in home, well, it looked as though it was all suddenly going to come his way, but just not knowing where to put the car right towards the end. And a B-fake, you can imagine in the heat of the moment, he had to pick a way to go around Daniel Downing's car. But in the end for Alex Meredith, it will be P24 or P8 in the Prime class, and therefore he's going to have to do it the hard way for race number 3. But still another race to go, plus also plenty of racing ahead. 3 more rounds after today. It's not over yet, but the 44 driver will definitely be feeling some frustration from that one. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, all the drivers are heading into it if they're not already in the pit lane, and therefore let's take you through those race results subject to any stewards' inquiries, and here they are. So after what was an incredible 11 laps of racing in race number 2 here of the NXTCC Season 5 Round 7, brought to you on iRacing, powered by IMB Racewear, Wojciech Swirydowicz taking the win by 5 seconds for Semper Racing over iRace Esports' Andrew Pike. A further, what was 3 seconds behind, Jaroslaw Cebula for Semper Racing, making a Semper Racing at 1-3. Still not quite able to make it a 1-2, but they're coming close each and every time. And then Estoril NXTGEN's Dan Mole P4 ahead of RD Simsports' Daniel Martin. Affinities pulls in Atachi doing well to finish P6 and was brilliant battling from the Velocity driver and one of his strongest performances of the season, the 14, ahead of Mikey Dole for Double Sim Racing. And then Gavin Garner for Next Gen Pink, finishing ahead of SRL Next Gen's Adam Delmont and Double Sim Racing's Joseph Doble, with Doble completing the top 10 overall. William Guthrie, P11 for Full Tilt V Motorsport, a difficult second race of the day, but I think quite a bit of battling early on, plus also adjusting to the success path may have just cost in the places, ahead of Reese Watt for JW Motorsport, and then the Next Gen Pink pair of Jamie Dorr and Benjamin McCluskey. Your top 15 overall was completed by your prime winner of Ben Allchair for Full Tilt V Motorsport, who just stayed ahead by 3 attempts ahead of Sam Van Alst for Goldwing Motorsports, second place in Prime, and in third place in Prime just behind Alan McCain there, I do believe. We're not quite sure what's happened to the positioning of what was, I do believe, Duncan Rise, with Rise being listed as finishing P3 come at the end of the race on our screen. So there might have been an incident after the race that we're not sure of, but it shows our updated standings here. Alan McCain listed as P3 for iRace Esports, so I think that might go to the stewards after the race, ladies and gentlemen. Ian P18 for JW Motorsport, and then behind them, Stephen Fry at P19, so 4th place promoted in the Prime class there for the P739 Motorsports driver, and then Matthew Sheraton rounding off the top 5 in the Prime class for Aztec Racing, and with it a top 20 overall. Piotr Jaroslawski fighting hard for P21, the Semper Racing driver, enjoying his racing, no doubt about it, and holding on ahead of Martin Shirley, with Alex Meredith, Harley Bicknell and Russell Fowler completing your top 25. And then we see P26 for Lee Horn in a difficult second race of the day, ahead of Isaac Doble, the Double Sim Racing driver, definitely finding himself in the elbows out battles in this one, ahead of Matthew Addy, and then your top 30 being completed by Mark Sykes and Craig Tillerston. Duncan Rise listed as P31 there. There might have been a slowdown penalty he didn't serve by the time he got to the checker flag, which if so, that would have led to the demotion, but that's speculation. We can't confirm that, ladies and gentlemen. But they're the Goldwing Motorsport driver being demoted to the back of the field, bar one other driver, and that being his teammate who finished a lap down the end after losing the lead of the race on the final lap, and that was Daniel Downing for Goldwing Motorsport there, with heartbreak for the Goldwing Motorsport team. And well, that's the way the racing has gone, ladies and gentlemen, and those are your finishing positions subject to any stewards' inquiries. But of course, we've got one more race to come, and it will be race number 3 that's coming up in approximately 15 to 20 minutes time. But as we get set and ready for our final race today, of course there is the question of that reverse grid, and well, without further ado, we cut to the commentary booth once again. And as we do so, hello to you guys and girls again. Hopefully you've been enjoying the racing so far, and we have our lottery bowl once more, but this time we're going to close our eyes and shuffle the balls and pick 2 out of the bowl. And without further ado, let's get to it. That's our first shuffle, and we'll draw our first ball out of the bowl. And our first number for our second reverse grid is going to be the number 6. So it means it's going to be quite a limited reverse grid for our final race of the day. But we've got one more number to draw. And well, let's draw our second ball. And well, as we go in for our lucky dip, the number is going to be... It's the number 10, so it means we have a top 16 reverse grid, and well, that will mean that Sam Van Alst will start on pole position for the final race of the day here in France. He's got a prime opportunity to go battling with Ben Allchair once again, who'll join him on the front row. It's going to be a prime lockout on the front row, but the rest of the top 16 will be prime drivers, and who will be winning come the end of it? Well, all that and more is to be found out soon, ladies and gentlemen. But before we do that, we are going to cut away to have a brief word with our sponsor, and that is, of course, what is IMB Racewear for this season. So it definitely was a challenging race for many of our drivers when we went racing in the second race of the day. But as we take a look back at some of the replay action from the race start, and particularly from the blimp cameras, all of our drivers got set and ready to go. It was undoubtedly a thrilling second race here at none other than the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, and really kept up the intensity of the racing, no doubt about it. But rather than talk just about the racing and waxing lyrical about our drivers out there, let's get a word or two from some of the drivers who were on the grid and enjoying the racing out there. And in particular, we're going to try and get a word from some of the drivers enjoying the fighting right in amongst the midfield. And, well, in fact, we're going to be hearing from other drivers who finished right towards the front firstly. That's going to be none other than Andrew Pike, who we're going to hear from as we bring him in to what is the interview room for a brief moment from down in the garage. And we'll give us a brief moment, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll get a patch through to him in the garage currently, as I do believe he's currently sat stationary talking to the team. And without further ado, he is going to join us now. And good evening to you, Andrew. Do you have time for a quick word or two?
Oh, hang on a minute. Was that to me?
That's to you, Andrew. Are you there?
Yes, I am, mate. Sorry, I just hung my headphones up and then I heard the little bleep.
Well, apologies to catch you at a bit of a difficult time, but if you've got a minute, we just wanted to talk to you about what was a brilliant drive to P2 in the second race of the day.
Yeah, thank you. It might not have looked tough, but it was quite tough in the sense that I'm not very comfortable with the car. It doesn't turn very well, doesn't stop very well, and I think that's more a skill issue from me, seeing as Swirydowicz has cleared off into the distance there. But it's not optimum, and I'm new to the track as well. I've only just picked it up yesterday, so to be honest, to bring it home in that position is quite pleasing. Yeah, it was. I was lucky to get the gap that I got sort of mid-race when it kicked off behind me. I was glad to see that because I don't think I really had the pace to stay there. But I'll take the points. It's a good result, definitely.
Well, it definitely was a strong result, and I have to ask, in amongst all the battling, particularly in the early stages, we saw you chasing Paul Zanataci closely, but at the same time having to worry about Wojciech and his Semper Racing teammate Jaroslaw Cebula being close. Was there a particular strategy you had in mind that perhaps you're going to let Wojciech go and just chase down what was Paul Zanataci? Just take us through your thought process.
Well, I mean, they're both very fast, aren't they, the Semper boys? They're great to race. Immediately, I know I'm not going to get taken out, so I only need to leave a car's width, and I'm not going to be finding myself in the fence. So I was never going to let Wojciech go, but at the same time, once he's alongside me, which I think is just coming up on the replay now, there's not a lot I can do about it, other than one thing I've learned over the years, especially with touring car racing, is to know when you're beaten. If you need to yield and tuck back in and hope for an opportunity further down the line, then you take that, and certainly worked in my favour as Zanataci after that got a slowdown. So I found myself back in P2 as a result. It's just, I've just tried to use my brain. I know that's a little bit negative at times. You want to see people sending it, but it's just sort of holding position, knowing when you're beaten and knowing when to be smart seems to pay off.
Well, that's absolutely fair. And now we're going to be seeing you starting from P15 on the grid for our final race of the day. What's the plan for the reverse grid, given the fact you're going to have the second greatest success ballast?
Yeah, much the same as the last one there. Try and stay out of trouble early on. I've learnt with track limits after getting a slowdown in race one, which is absolutely gutting. So I now know where I can and can't be too aggressive. Just try and survive early on and then see where I find myself. The target is to just... I've ended the season late, as you highlighted last week in the stream, so I'm not fighting for anything other than to score points for iRace. So if I can get as far forward as I can and pick up some points, that's the target. I'll just try and keep my nose clean and help the boys out.
Well, and we wish you all the best of luck, and we'll leave you to your race preparations for race 3, and we'll see you at the checker flag.
Brilliant. Thanks a lot, Paul. All the best.
So hearing there from iRace Esports is Andrew Pike. His thoughts on what was a great drive to P2 for iRace Esports, and talking about there knowing when you beat and who to fight with, and Wojciech Swirydowicz cruising on through in the end, but still Pike playing the smart game, which was to focus on fighting for the positions that he could keep under his control, and doing very well after retaking P2 from the slowdown stricken Paul Zanataci to keep Jaroslaw Cebula behind. You can expect plenty more from Andrew Pike and indeed all drives in the field come race number 3. Speaking of which, ladies and gentlemen, I do believe the race 3 lobby is now ready, so therefore we're going to be stepping away, but we're going to be back in approximately 4 to 5 minutes time for the build up to race number 3. Don't go anywhere, you won't want to miss it. We'll see you very shortly. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, for one more race this evening in round 7 of the NXTCC Season 5, powered by IMB Racewear, brought to you on the sim racing platform, available only on PC, known as iRacing. And goodness me, what a thrilling pair of races we have had so far. Race number 1 was a classic here at the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours, with many of the battles playing out in traditional fashion and some absolutely smooth moves being played out. But in race number 2, we've seen some elbows come out and some brilliant batting as well. What with our top 9 reverse grid, and well, how it's set the stage now for race number 3. We've got a top 16 reverse grid, and there's one driver who finds himself at the very forefront of it, and it is this man, Sam Van Olst for Goldwing Motorsport, who has put himself on pole position for the final race today. It's going to be 2 primes on the front row, Van Olst and Ultria, and then it will be 14 pros behind them before you get to your next prime drivers. And with only 1.5 minutes to go, well, you could cut the tension with a knife. There's no doubt about it, in the absolute surprise ending to the prime lead battle in race number 2, which saw a heartbreak not just for Daniel Downing, not just for also Alex Meredith, both drivers ending up out of the race, but we've also had confirmation that an early instant in the race for Duncan Moraes led to him receiving an automated black flag from the iRacing shooting system that's outside our race director's control, I do believe, and therefore him being demoted off of the podium and all the way to the back of the lead lap field. You could not have written this, ladies and gentlemen. So for Goldwing Motorsport, it's been bittersweet because their drivers were 2-3 for a brief moment, only to see their potential race winner have their race ended, and also their third place finisher have their race put to the back of the field. But still, we've got plenty of racing to come here, and we do say hello to a good number of you in the chat who we haven't said hello to yet, including John Meredith and Catherine Meredith. Also to Alex Meredith, who says shame to miss out on a prime win, but I've done that as well before, so shrug shoulders there. It happens, Alex, but still, we do know the maturity you bring to each and every race, and that's what makes you special on this grid. There's no doubt about it. And head up and keep on pushing on. But as our drivers get ready to go, we have had just confirmation, ladies and gentlemen, that unfortunately there is an issue with the manual safety car that we would normally run as part of our races for race number 3. So if we do see a safety car, it will be an automated iRacing safety car, and well, the difference between there being the fact the pace of the safety car will be much less. You're not going to be seeing the classic next-gen racing safety car out there. Unfortunately, an issue for our safety car driver, Gaz Williams. He's all okay, but it's a technical issue behind the scenes. But as the checker flag waves on this practice warm-up session, ladies and gentlemen, we get ready to go racing at one more time today. Fritzy's enjoying the YouTube chat, says solid combos as always in this league. Well, how solid will it be at the front of the field? Let's find out as we get ready for race 3. So as our drivers make their way to the grid, this is how they line up for the final race of the day. It is Sam Van Olst who takes reverse grid at pole position for Goldwing Motorsport, ahead of fellow prime driver Ben Ultria for Full Tilt Motorsport. It's then your pro pole sitter of Benjamin McCluskey, P3 for Next Gen Pink, ahead of teammate Jamie Dory, with Reese Watt for JW Motorsport starting P5, ahead of Full Tilt Motorsport's William Guthrie. Joseph Doble starts P7 for Double Sim Racing, ahead of Estoril Next Gen's Adam Delmont. And then we have Gavin Gardner completing the 5th row of the grid alongside Mikey Doble, the Next Gen Pink driver, just ahead of the Double Sim Racing driver. P11 goes to Paul Zanatachi ahead of Daniel Martin, with row at number 7 then going to Dan Mould and Jaroslaw Cebula. Andrew Pike and Wojciech Swirydowicz start on what will be the 8th row of the grid, ahead of Alan McCain and Ian Manners, and then it's Stephen Fry and Matthew Sheverton on row number 10 completing your top 20. Piotr Jigoslavski starts P21 ahead of Martin Shirley, then Alex Meredith and Harley Bicknell on row number 12. Row 13 goes to Russell Fowler and Lee Horn, ahead of Isaac Doe and Matthew Addy. But we're going to stop there, ladies and gentlemen, because the grid is set, the lights are going on, and it's going to battle the primes at the front. It's going to be 1 red light, 2 red lights, 3 red lights, 4 red lights, 5 red lights. And it's lights out and away we go. Van Olst has a lot of wheel spin off the line. Ultria, meanwhile, doesn't get the best of starts. And as they make their way down towards turn 1, Van Olst will lead into the opening apex. Behind him, Jamie Dory sweeping up the inside of McCluskey. But the 2 primes now will find themselves in reverse positions into turn 3, or will they? As Dory gets ahead immediately and continues to push on. But meanwhile, at the front, it's going to be Ultria up the inside as they make their way for Estoril corner. Van Olst right now just keep his head down, knowing that he's got the speed in the Audi, plus a little bit less success weight. And as they head down towards turn number 5, it's a long run. Here is the battle of the primes at the front of the field. Dory's thinking about getting involved as well, wants to make it 3 wide, Keep it clean, lads. It's the start of the race, and as they make their way down to the braking zone, Wolverdoss right now hard on the anchors. All three looking up the inside. Through they go, and as they do, it's 2-3 wide as everybody. Constantine is on through. 3 wide there for Mikey Doble in the rear of the picture with Daniel Martin and also Paul Zenatachi. But as they all charged away now underneath the blimp camera down towards turn number 18 at 2 at the Nürburgring chicane. Ultri and Dory go side by side. Ultri are mounting the apex curve there. Now will that be a slowdown for track limits? Hopefully not, 'cause it's brilliant racing between them. We don't want it to stop. But as they make the way on through, meanwhile going sideways, there's Joseph Doble drifted his way on through 180. Went stylish and there's contact as he's turned by, I think, one of the Estoril NXTGEN cars. That may have been contact of Adam Delmont, but as he looks the wrong way. Meanwhile, 3 wide at the front of the field. They head into Imola. It's going to be all still defended. All Trier as well continues on. Dory trying to fight his way through, but the primes are insistent. They don't want to let this go. And as they make the way into the Chateau d'Eu, it's going to be all Trier around the outside, but Knowles holds the inside. Dory cuts back here now. All Trier's got to just try and outrun the Audi. It's a difficult challenge to do as they make the way down towards the Complexe du Lycée. Car going backwards in the rear of the picture. I do believe that may have been Alan McCain going the wrong way, but as they make the way on through here, well, right now it's going to be a mistake from all Trier. The pressure is on. Knowles on the inside. They go 2 wide into the chicane. Knowles retakes the lead, and as they go on through, well, right now it's Knowles who leads ahead of Dory P2. Or is it as all Trier looks to battle his way around the outside, trying to defend him, but Dory will take the position. So Jamie Dory moves into P2. All Trier P3. There's McCluskey P4 ahead of Watt, followed by Guthrie, then Mikey Doble. Meanwhile, it's going to be now what will be Guthrie looking up the inside as McCluskey goes very deep into Esther. He lets 1, he lets 2, he lets 3 go. Surely somebody can stop the rot in the end, and he does just about as he drops down to P7 ahead of Dan Mould, followed by Daniel Martin, and then pulls out a touch. He completes your top 10 ahead of Adam Delmont as Gavin Garner in P12 gives pursuit. And speaking of which, I'm lost for words practically as they make the way on down Golf up towards Adelaide they go. And well, as they do now, Gavin Garner doing everything to try and look around the outside. Meanwhile, hard at the brakes, coming in very hot. That is going to be Adam Delmont there who misses his braking point surely. And I think there's some contact on the side of Zenatachi's car. Meanwhile, further contact. That's a crumpled front bump on the 05. What is Honda Civic tyre path at RD Sims, but I do believe that maybe Martin Shirley nursing a lot of damage now as they all come through. Lap number 1 was clean. Lap number 2 has been less so. But as they make the way on through, the one thing that stay constant is brilliant racing. And as they make the way in towards what will be 180 this time, well, Delmont right now on the inside of Gardner. Meanwhile, there's been braking smoke kicking up in front. I believe there's been a lock-up for none other than Daniel Martin. But as they all come through now, Jaroslaw Cebula looking for the move here. And looking up the inside versus Delmont in towards turn at number 12. Well, as they go here, surely Cebula's going to have this hook, line and sinker, but Delmont's going to say otherwise. And in the fact, he takes the outside to inside here and forces Cebula to have to back off. Some brilliant defending there from Delmont. And right now, keeping the field behind us. Zenatachi looks around the outside. Through the right hander they go. A little bit of a door up between them, but otherwise no contact whatsoever. And as they power the way through, with Delmont doing the damage he needs to, which is to just get them to fight each other. Meanwhile, Alex Meredith, P3 in the prime class, he's carved his way through the field since the race start. And right now the RD Supersport driver's got his head down and he's pushing on here. He wants retribution for what was a difficult end to race number 2. And right now he's going to earn it the hard way, if nothing else. But meanwhile, Ian Mann is side by side. There's Mafiani, gives it space, runs wide. But meanwhile, Jaroslaw since the inside wall, the Civic rebounds, and as it does so, he gets the car back to the inside wall, car parked up, but that is surely going to be a tow to the pits for Jaroslaw as he turns the car back in the right way. He's going to try and carry it on for one more lap, but I'd imagine that's going to be a call to the pits, as meanwhile down pit lane also goes Martin Shirley, but looking back to the front of the field, we're onto lap number 3 here, and as they make the way down past Golf in towards Adelaide, this is Knowles versus Dory for the lead of the race. Dory looking around the outside, but Knowles meanwhile defending hard here. He's fighting for his first ever prime win, and with it his first ever potential prime well, not just his prime podium, but what is an overall podium, if not an overall win. But Dory's going to try and upset the apple cart here and prevent Knowles adding his name to the list of 5 drivers who've taken wins as prime drivers overall. Once they go through, bounce off the curb, there's contact with Dory, and they go sideways, and as they do, Jamie Dory right now into the gravel, and Ben Trier, I don't think he's going to quite believe it. Is it destiny? Is it luck? I don't know, but one thing I can tell you is that Trier leads again in a dramatic turn of events as they made the way on down the back stretch up towards Imola. There's a long way to go, but right now, whatever happens, Trier just seems to be blessed and not touched by it. But as they make the way on through Imola up towards the Chateau d'Eu, look behind, and that's Mikey Doble right now attacking Reese Watt, and Reese Watt has not really had a chance to battle for a top 10 today whatsoever, but right now he finds himself right in the thick of it. And well, 3 seasons ago, he'll remember when he was battling as prime leader, Oschersleben becoming our first ever prime overall winner, and right now he could pick up his first ever overall win as a pro. but as they make the way on through turn number 15, Mikey Double starting right there with them as they make the way on through, and Ultria is not going to let them go as we ride on board here and look back from your race leader, and Doble there takes a sneak peek to the inside. He looks once, will he look twice at the Grande Curve? Well, he's thinking about it, there's no doubt about it, but I think here patience is going to be the key. They've got a long race ahead of them, albeit it's the same length as any other one, but I think the stamina levels right now are going to be the difference, and a small mistake there from what he goes deep, but Doble's got a very tight line on the exit, and as they come out of Estoril, Ultria here will have all the breathing room he needs to just try and pull away. You can see both drivers behind right now trying to siphon the toe off the back of the 504. Doble's the one who's going to be giving it as Ultria tries to give them both equal slipstream as they make the way up towards Adelaide. He wants them to fight, but as they do, what's going to come in hard? He's going to come in fast, but will he be able to come on through in first? That's the challenge as he makes his way on through. He gets it stopped, and Reese Watts surely will move from that far back, takes the lead of the race, or does he? It's side by side as they make the way in towards turn at number 8. Into the right hander they go. And as they come on through into Nürburgring, well, what has the back out, bounces the car over the curb, and Ben Ultria right now absolutely committed as they come. But look at the queue that's building up behind him. William Guthrie here, I think right now is just trying to get in to the fight. He wants to be up into that fight for P2. So I can imagine right now the team principals on the radio saying to Guthrie, look, you've got to go. Ultria needs you. And right now he's fighting his way up the order. Swirydowicz behind him, P7. Keep your eyes on Swirydowicz as well, because he's going to try and fight his way on through as they make the way through turns 12 and 13. Right now this race is completely open, there's no doubt about it, and meanwhile it's just at the front of Phil's Guthrie up the inside of his damn Mould, and Mould's seeing it coming, pulls the steering to the left slightly to give Guthrie the breathing room, and Guthrie there being a bit lenient, it would seem, on his rival, but still they show each other respect as they make the way down through chicane, and as they do, the Britannier still staying off, but then Mould swings out and immediately says, I've given you it once, you're not going to have it again, and therefore Guthrie made to wait now as they make the way to the end of lap number 4 as they charge on through. Meanwhile we look a bit further down the order because there's plenty of battling wherever you look, and this is Joseph Doble meanwhile who's trying to look his way past Lee Horn as they fight for P21, albeit not for points here but for a bit of pride on the line. Both drivers having a difficult start to the day, and it's going to be a difficult end of this race as they make the way across the line, and we can see Joseph Doble looking on the inside here as they head in towards the braking zone at 4. With that, the lift-off zone we should really say for Grande Curve. He's going to be on the outside out for Estoril. Horn's going to try and hold it outside to inside. It's the best he can do here, just simply force Joseph Doble on that wide line where all the dirt picks up, and as they make the way through it does exactly that. Doble looks to the cutback, pulls it off nicely, and as he sweeps his way around, I think it's going to be an opportunity now for Doble to just simply out-drag Horn down the back straight, and indeed he does, and that's going to be the move made for Joseph Doble. But meanwhile from them we look back to the battle at the front of the field, and this is now Reese Watt who's under pressure from McCluskey. Meanwhile Doble's got on throughout Adelaide, and now it's going to be McCluskey looking around the outside into Nürburgring. Surely not. Watt in the end just simply sticks his guns in and says no you don't, and McCluskey made away. But as they head on through, oh my good lord, and that's Dan Mould going the wrong way. Well, there must have been some sort of contact there to trigger that off surely, because the SRL Veloster would have been fired off without some. But meanwhile the number 80 driver now rejoins the race and down into P13, just a small tap to the tyre barrier in the end, and well from that we look back to your leaders as they make the way up the rise through turns at number 12 and 13 again. But as they do so here right now it's line astern, no moves being made by anyone as everybody waiting for their turn to try and get involved. But as they do so, all these drivers absolutely eager to have another opportunity come their way. Meanwhile I can tell you that we've had a bit of an instant for other drivers. I believe Dan Mould has had to be towed to the pitch due to that contact with the wall. Mikey Double looking up the inside here to Lycée, going all in. This could be the move for the lead. Ultria is going to try and hold it outside to inside for the chicane. This isn't too wide. Oh my good lord, and it's Reese Watt who ends up in the tyre barrier there, and I think just tried to do the same as Ultria, but in the end the car being biffed one way by number 2. Oh goodness, and that is, I believe, Jamie Dory coming through, and Reese Watt's race ends in tears there over the course of one chicane. Well, Mikey Doe has taken the lead of this race. Ben Ultria's down to P2 and William Guthrie's now up into P3. It's getting absolutely crazy here. I don't know what they've all been told since race number 2, but one thing they're definitely not doing is calming down. And as they make the way on down Golf this time, a bit further back, Gavin Gardner fighting hard for Wojciech Swirydowicz, and also Adam Delmont. As the SL NXTGEN driver goes defensive on the inside, onto the brakes they go, and as they do, well, 3 wide there, Swirydowicz tries to open up the space in between them before the Moses manoeuvre, but in the end, does he really need to, as he can just simply take his time with this one, given the fact he's had a great result in race number 1, the same in race number 2 with the win, and right now a P7 in race number 3 would still give him a huge haul of points as they head in towards what will be at the Nürburgring chicane. Well, the thing with the Semper Racing driver is, well, they always want more points, and as he heads in towards 180, he's just got to play his race cars right on this one. But meanwhile, as we look at them racing on through, we're going to take a look back at what exactly happened to Reese Watt only moments ago. And well, here is the incident for Reese Watt, I do believe, at the chicane. In fact, that is the outcome of the incident, and then the subsequent moment with Jamie Dory. We tried to get an earlier replay of what happened. I think this will be it as we do look to the blimp camera. Keep your eyes on Reese Watt and the JW Motorsport Audi. Poor run out of IC, side by side there, McCluskey, and in the end, well, 2 does not go into 1. It was a pinch point, and what being turned across the front of McCluskey would argue, where could I physically put the car? What would argue, I was already on the corner, so it's going to be an interesting one in the stewards room if it goes there. But I'll tell you one thing, drama for the 2 of them. And what happened to Dan Mould, I hear you ask? Well, this is what happened to Dan Mould a bit earlier on. This was going into 180 bend, and as they made the way through, contact there with William Guthrie under braking. I think just the 2 cars on an intercept course under braking, and Mould in the end being spun to the wall. And well, I think both of them will have a little chat about that one after the race, but I don't think there was much else they could do about it. But as we return to your racing pictures, ladies and gentlemen, well, right now the sun may be setting in France, but it's not setting on this brilliant racing action, as we can see McCluskey still chasing after Ultria, and further behind Adam Delman right now trying to gain some more places back in the back of a quartet of what is himself, Martin Swirydowicz and Gardner looking upwards, as meanwhile McCluskey has just found his way through off camera into Adelaide versus Ultria. And I think right now Full Tilt Ubers what have been on the radio to Ultria, and I wouldn't be surprised they've said to just make sure you get the prime win. You don't need anything more than this. Don't risk it. This is going to be the biggest points you've ever picked up in NXTCC. And as they make the way through here, well, right now the whip may be turned down for our prime leader, but meanwhile for our second place prime driver, well, it's another day of racing. As for Alex Meredith right now, P2 in class, he's got a comfortable gap ahead of his eyes at Dover with P12, who is the best part of 4.5 seconds behind. But Meredith right now wants to stay as close as possible to his pro back in front of him, for the reason being that he will want to try and find the win here and try and redeem himself after what was that heartbreaking end to race number 2. And it should be said, Alex Meredith has moved his way all the way from a P24 starting position into P10. That's how far the RD Sport drivers come. In fact, P23 after Moraes' unfortunate demotion down the grid after the race had concluded. But the number 44 driver here right now, 13 places gained, one of the biggest gainers of them all, and showing no signs of giving in as he makes his way down towards what I see up the inside as Alatachi goes. It's a bold move. Alatachi sees an opportunity to cut back. It's too wide into the chicane. It's not worked out for multiple drivers, and Meredith in the end gives the space. He backs off. I think he might be required to slow down, however, given the fact he did cut over the chicane curb. Indeed, he does serve a slowdown there, and he loses the place to Jaroslaw Cebula. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, as they say. But at the same time, I think the Briton right now will be wondering whether the suspension is going to take another hit like that shortly, as Reese Watt leaves the pit lane after a fast repair, but a painful one at that. Meanwhile, a bit further back, plenty of race there going on outside the top 15. That's Russell Fowler battling with none other than Matthew Addy, as Addy looking around the outside. And meanwhile, we can see just in front there Joseph Doble and Andrew Pike battling for P15 as they make the way through. Joseph Doble running a bit wide there, and Russell Fowler right now as they make the way up towards turn number 5. And as they charge the way through here, well, now it's going to be the battle of the prime driver and previous prime driver, Fowler and Addy. 9 to have battled in the prime class, no doubt about it. Addy looks up to the inside, switches back there, but Russell Fowler just copped on the brakes. A tiny tap between the 2 of them, and as they make the way out of the corner, well, Addy backs off slightly there to give Fowler the opportunity to accelerate speed a little bit quicker, and therefore they stay as they were. But meanwhile, Andrew Pike under huge pressure here from what is Joseph Doble as they make the way on through the right into left, charging the way up towards 180. And as they go onto the brakes, you can see how close Joseph Doble is, but the problem is they're going a bit deep under braking, and Pike can just simply control the momentum of this race as they wind the way on through, battling for P15 of course, and now battling for the final point in the overall standings here today. 1 point available to them for this finishing position, and who's going to take it, we'll have to see. But it does look as though Joseph Doble is the unstoppable force versus the immovable object of what is Andrew Pike, and who will win in the age-old question of their battle. As Doble looks around the outside here, Pike goes defensive, goes a little bit deep on the corner, but Doble himself also goes quite deep into the braking zone, and that's not going to help him as Pike just gets back ahead in time, and therefore they stay as they were. Matthew Sheraton just in front of them. Meanwhile, we had a bit of a battle here side by side. What is Paul Zanatachi as he makes his way past Reese Watt. I think that's Alex Meredith also picking up a place there. So Meredith right now taking at 2 places for the cost of 1 quarter, all with 2 places on track, 1 for position as they head on through to lap number 9. Well, right now Zanatachi won a bit further down the order, but still a top 10 finish wouldn't do him injustice. But as they make the way on through, we look back here to side by side between Joseph Doble and Andrew Pike. Side by side they go into turn number 3 through Estoril. Doble on the outside here. Pike meanwhile can't get the foot down. Nice and early contact between the 2. Joseph Doble Doble trying to pin Pike to the inside, but Pike can then get his elbows out slightly to say, no, I want a bit more speed, thank you very much. And to do that, he's got to get some more width on the corner. And as they make the way up towards turn number 5, well, meanwhile, just in front of them, this is Daniel Downing on a redemption charge after the absolutely sad end to race number 2 from his perspective, Goldwyn Motorsports Garage perspective, and what was the guaranteed win in the Brown class, or what we thought. But in the end, right now, fighting his way past Matthew Sheraton, or will he be able to? As Sheraton on the outside here, as the Aztec Racing driver in the Audi goes a win, but Downing's not going to be scared away, and as they make their way through, brilliant maneuverability between the two drivers. They're both giving each other space, but in the end, Daniel Downing makes it count and moves up into P13 overall, P4 in the Prime class. Isaac Doble's 2 seconds up the road. Can Downing get onto the podium with 2.5 laps remaining? That'll be his task, and he'll be going absolutely brazen for it right now as they make the way up towards Imola corner. But as they do, from them, we look a bit further back, and Joseph Doble's still on a mission to try and cut his way past Matthew Addy. In fact, it's fallen back there quite recently after battling with Andrew Pike for some time, so it looks as though with all the fighting, Josie Doble having a difficult run at midway through this lap. We haven't quite seen it on camera, but it's led to Fowler and Addy getting on through. Josie Doble now having to try and bring himself back up the order, but as they make the way down towards turn number 15. Number of you giving your thoughts on the racing earlier on, well, as they make the way on through to the braking zone. Fantastic racing between these guys, no question about it. And well, a big mention there's Mark Kent says Downing up 19 positions since the start of this race. That's how far Daniel Downing has made his way through the order, and as they made the way onto the penultimate lap here, can he gain a couple more before all is said and done? Whilst all this is playing out, meanwhile, we look to William Guthrie, currently P2 for Vauxhall Motorsport in the Honda Civic Type R 97, and trying to keep McCluskey behind in the front of your picture. That's Mikey Doble going on through to potentially make it his second win of the day after the win in what was race number 1 here today, which will be big points in his championship. Meanwhile, behind Wojciech Swirydowicz, battling with Gavin Gardner. Gardner looking for the move for P5. And as Gardner tries to defend here for P5 with Swirydowicz being the attacker, well, right now the Next Gen Pink driver flying the pink banner high for Next Gen Pink. Well, you can see there Daniel Martin trying to get involved, and Martin looking on the inside here as they head on through to the chicane. Side by side they go, and William has to back off as they make the way on through, and Martin given the space, respectful racing between the two of them, and both drivers, they don't want to give it, but meanwhile you can see in the rearview mirror what is coming on through. That's an attempted move by none other than Adam Delmont, and Delmont gets on through there, and Daniel Martin, for all the great racing, now having to fight with a fellow Honda driver and looking backwards rather than forwards as Swirydowicz starts to peel away. But whatever must be said, these guys right now absolutely showing brilliant racecraft between each other, and as they head up towards turn at number 14, we're right now still side by side, but it's going to be Martin on the inside into the Chateau d'Eau hairpin, and Delmont looks at the cutback here, but a little bit of a wobble down the brake and a little bit of brake oversteer, and as a result it's going to give Daniel Martin enough of a run, or is it, as Delmont starts to come on here. He's a 10th down, and it's not going to be enough. Short as Martin goes defensive, just able to sweep ahead, and Delmont has to look around the outside, but with a short run to the chicane here, right now this Delmont's going to fully commit to the chicane. I think he was thinking about it, but there's no way through as they go on to the final lap. But as they do, it's the fastest lap of the race for Mikey Doe, a 48.628, very fast at this late stage of the race, no doubt about it. And meanwhile, whilst they're pushing on, Lee Hornet is still trying to chase one more place down versus Russell Fowler at P18. Can't quite find it as they make their way across the timeline to go on to the final lap of today. But as they head in towards turn number 1, we do say hello there to Ian Crosby in the Facebook chat, who was talking about the banger race a bit earlier on, and also to Smag 660. What a rejoin with regards to what happened with Reese Watt in the early stage of the race. But meanwhile, speaking of battles right now, we rejoin at the front of the field, and that is McCluskey up the inside of Guthrie. Guthrie there, I think, leaving the door open a little bit too early in the day, and McCluskey simply saying, well, don't mind if I do, because that goes the way of McCluskey for P2 as they head on down. Meanwhile, behind them, Adam Delmont still insisting he wants that P6 back, or that P7 back off of Daniel Martin. I don't think Martin's going to give it to him willingly though, and as they make the way over through, well, right now these two absolutely as close as they come. But whilst all this is playing out, we've got some brilliant battling here in the Prime class. Stephen Fry fighting with Alan McCain. That is also just in front of the Harley Bicknell, who's trying to hold on as they make the way on down towards the Nürburgring chicane. Wherever you look, as we said earlier, there's plenty of action unfolding here, and well, as they come through, it's going to carve down, and Stephen Fry battling for P7 now in the Prime class versus Harley Bicknell, with McCain and Vanolsh just behind. But as they come under braking it looks as though the quartet are going to stay as they are as they make their way through the left and into the right. But as they come on through and up towards the Imola chicane, well, meanwhile we look to your race leader, ladies and gentlemen, and after what was a phenomenal start to the day with pole position and the win in race number 1, well, it's going to be a win in race number 3. It's Mikey Doble who takes a checker flag for the last time today for Double Sim Racing ahead of Benjamin McCluskey P2. William Guthrie finishes behind in P3. 3, and it'll be Ben Aldrea who makes it 3 prime wins out of 3 today here in France for Full Tilt Motorsport, and his first ever overall top 5 ahead of Gavin Gardner, Wojciech Swirydowicz and Daniel Martin, Adam Delmont P8, and then it will be Isaac Doble with second place in the prime class in a fantastic driver Doble sim racer. Paul Zanatachi, Jaroslaw Cebula and Daniel Downing in the end finishes 3rd on the prime podium. It is redemption for Downing as he found his way past Matthew Shelton in the closing stages. The Aztec Racing driver in the end not quite on the podium, but will be a prime P4, P13 overall ahead of what was Joseph Doble, and Matthew Addy rounds off the overall top 15. We're P5 in the prime class. We've still got some more drivers to finish this race, including Jamie Dory, and then we'll have one more driver in the form of Craig Tillotson, who is away down the order. If I believe that Craig Tillotson right now making his way out of turn number 10, and here he is in the FR20 sim racing machine. It has been a difficult day today for the 34 driver, but still all part of the learning experience. We're not quite sure what's happened to Alex Meredith, in fact. We will try and get a story behind that very shortly, ladies and gents, but I think something did happen on lap number 11 to explain it. Some very late drama. And as Craig Tillotson makes his way to the finish line, we have a quick replay of what happened to Alex Meredith. And this was at the time in, oh goodness me, and that was Reese Watt coming across the road, I do believe, unless I'm mistaken. Well, we'll have to try and take a look back at that a little bit later on in terms of what exactly happened. But as Tillotson makes his way on through, we definitely have had a nasty incident there for Alex Meredith, no doubt about it. And will Tillotson make his way to the line, taking the checkered flag. We're going to try and take a look back at what happened to Alex Meredith right at the end of the race, as all the drivers have now finished the race. They've come on through, and we will try to get that follow-up replay. And here it is, I do believe. It's under braking, and rear of the car comes loose, but already, and that is, I believe, the 32 Audi, and that is Reese Watt there. We're not quite sure what sent Reese Watt off the road initially, whether there was an issue with the car or what happened, but definitely some late drama there between the two drivers. And well, I think, in fact, we might have a little bit of replay as to what exactly happened. And here is, well, that's the rejoin, but we might have the full story now in terms of what happened there. In fact, we can't get the full replay, ladies and gents, but what we can tell you is that's what happened to Alex Meredith's race, and bad luck striking again. And well, it seems though something went wrong for Reese Watt. We can't tell you what happened, but what we do know is that Alex Meredith was the bystander in amongst that by looks of things. But again, our cameras only tell half the story, and we don't know the full story there, it must be said. But still, as our drivers all come into the pit lane or have made their way into the pit lane, let's take a look back at those race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries, and here they are. So after a dramatic end to proceedings today here at the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours in race 3 of 3 in round 7 of the NXTCC Season 5, Mikey Doble taking 2 out of 3 wins today, with a win in the final race of David Doble sim racing by 2.7 seconds over NXTGEN Pink's Benjamin McCluskey, who fought hard and fast through William Guthrie, who then finished P3 for Full Tilt Motorsport. Behind Guthrie, his teammate Ben Aldrea, P4, his first ever overall top 5, and with it his 3rd win in the road today to make it his 4th win in his Pro-Am career. And what a day it's been for the 504 driver ahead of Gavin Gardner, number 11 driver, P5 there for NXTGEN Pink, and keeping his top 10 championship hopes alive. And then Wojciech Swirydowicz, P6 for Semper Racing. Daniel Martin, P7 for RD Simsport ahead of Adam Delmont for SR NXTGEN, with the two drivers exchanging a brilliant set of battles, no doubt about it, in the Hondas, ahead of Isaac Doble for Doble Sim Race's second place finisher in the prime class there, with the late misfortune for Alex Meredith, it would seem. And then Paul Zanatachi at P10 there for Affinity. Best of SP11, Jaroslaw Cebula for Semper Racing ahead of Daniel Downing, your 3rd place finisher in the prime class in the end for Goldwing Motorsport, in what has definitely been a topsy-turvy day today for the number 17 driver. Meanwhile, Matthew Sheraton at P4 in the prime class, P13 overall. The Aztec Racing driver fighting hard, not quite able to bring home the podium, but taking that P4 ahead of Joseph Doble. And then Matthew Addy, your 5th place prime finisher, wrapping up your top 15 overall for NXTGEN with Sam Cases. Andrew Pike, P16 ahead of Lee Horn, with the top 20 being filled out by Ian Manners, Harley Bicknell and Stephen Fry. And Harley Bicknell and Stephen Fry both deserve a special mention for JW Motorsport and P739 Motorsports respectively, for what for them has been a strong day of racing, no doubt about it. And then Alan McCain, P21 ahead of Sam Van Olst, with Alex Meredith and Mark Sykes completing the run of P24. Heartbreak for both Van Olst and Meredith in their respective races, no question about it. And then Jamie Dory, P25 in the difficulties after that contact with Reese Watt. Russell Fowler, P26 had a Craig Tillotson, and then finishing a lap down there, Reese Watt, P28, and ahead of Dan Mould, Duncan Moraes, Piotr Czegoslewski and Martin Shirley, with all 4 drivers there a time before the halfway point of the race, and therefore be classified as non-finishers. There were 32 starters, and in the end 20 8 finishers, with 27 of them being on the lead lap. But goodness me, what a set of races we have had today, ladies and gentlemen. And indeed, this French circuit has absolutely delivered. Well, our racing may be over, but of course, we're not quite over with regards to our broadcast for today, because coming up in approximately 12 minutes' time, we'll be back for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. So don't go anywhere. You won't want to miss the upcoming interviews. I can assure you there's going to be some great insights from our drivers. I think it's definitely been a day where everybody has earned every point out of the circuit. We'll see you very shortly. Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it is time for our post-round interviews with our volunteer drivers. And today we're going to be hearing from two drivers in the Prime class, in an analogue to what we saw at the end of the midpoint of the season, where we wrapped up 2023 with interviews of only Pro drivers. So we're going to be hearing from only Prime drivers today, of which two are on hand. We're also going to be hearing from Alex Meredith, the RD Simsport driver, who's ever positive, but definitely has had a few knocks today with a lot of misfortune. And meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, we're going to then be hearing from Ben Altria, the Full Tilt Motorsport driver, who picked up all 3 wins today, not just with pace, but also some fortune on his side, and we're going to be hearing about their contrasting fortunes. But without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to bring into the interview room none other than Alex Meredith, who does join me now. Good evening to you, Alex. Looked as though it was tough out there, no doubt about it. And well, I have to ask, how's it felt today? You know, you had a lot of pace, but just luck refused to be on your side.
Yeah, honestly, it's been quite a night. I just don't think I had any luck. Difficult races. The pace felt quite nice actually. I was really struggling through practice, but then eventually I got some good pace. But you know, this stuff happens. Yeah, just unlucky.
Well, indeed, bad luck. I can see not just your mum and dad, John and Catherine, in the YouTube chat saying about this fortune, but also a number of other fans for yourself, including Kerr Worry there in the YouTube chat, saying that you deserved better than that this evening. And I think we can all agree that sometimes that's the way the racing goes. But let's talk about some more of the positives today, starting with qualifying. A P19 overall, P5 in class. Looked as though you're making that Elantra work for you in qualifying. How did it feel taking on the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours for the first time?
To be honest, Paul, it felt pretty awful. I knew qualifying wasn't going to be my strong point in this race. I just kept losing a lot of time over a single lap. There was a lot of traffic, and me and the RD Simsport guys, we tried to sort of have a formation, but it sort of all unravelled, and we only got a couple of actual clean laps. And on the laps that I did do, I just messed up. So. Yeah, I mean, P5 and Prime isn't bad, but, you know, I'm always hungry for more.
As like we always like to say, it's the racer's spirit. You always want more, and there's no doubt about it. And speaking of wanting more, race number 1 saw you get entangled in quite a few battles early on, and in the end, a finished P20 overall, but still class P5. So nothing ventured, nothing gained, but I think you perhaps wanted a bit more out of race number 1.
Yeah, I definitely could have had more. There are a few unfortunate incidents where I lost, I think, about 5 positions at a hairpin from someone outbreaking themselves. So that was a bit annoying, but you know, it's only race 1, and I managed to recover a couple of those positions as well. So yeah, I just sort of put my head down and went into race 2 with an open mind, just trying to get the car home really.
And just with regards to the racing around here, I mean, there's a whole host of different corners at Magny-Cours, many of them being throwbacks to other circuits around the world. It has been an evening tonight where we've seen overtakes attempted at practically every corner. Did you find that you always had to be looking over your shoulder into each corner, or potentially looking for the move into the next one?
I mean, I wish I had like a prediction software to see where people were going to hit me, but yeah, you did really have to keep looking in your mirrors. But to be honest, it wasn't too bad for most of the race. I had some really nice battles, especially in race 3. Really enjoyed one. One particularly, I think it was in the final couple of laps. But yeah, it was quite difficult to keep checking.
Well, indeed, and with that going into race number 2, of course, race number 1 with that P20 finish saw you start P20 and very quickly start to carve your way through the order, and in the closing stages of the race, it looked as though a potential win was coming, if not just the podium, and then it all went wrong.
Yeah, well, to be honest, the whole race I felt like I had good pace. I was just sort of managing the gaps. Didn't really want to get involved in front, didn't want to fall back behind. I was just consistent, managing everything, managing tyres. And then I just saw Daniel Downing off the track, and I saw him rolling down, and I assumed he was just going to stop on sort of near the apex, but they just continued, and I just had no time to react. So yeah, tried to limp it home, but by that point I knew I wasn't going to get a good position, because I think I was P15 at the time, which was going to be P2 reverse grid. But yeah, one piece of bad luck wasn't too bad. I wasn't too frustrated with that, but yeah, clearly worse was to come.
Well, one thing that can be said, I think everyone tuning in will agree with me, you may not have had the luck on your side, and we'll talk more about it in race 3 shortly, but the one thing you've definitely done today is made more overtakes than anybody else on the grid by a significant margin, and race number 3, a P23 star, and midway through the race, running and battling for just outside the top 10 as well. I mean, it doesn't matter what gets thrown your way, you seem to love just being right in the thick of it.
Yeah, I mean, this is why we all do it. We all just love racing, close racing, and that's why we do the touring cars, wheel to wheel, because they are one of the, if not the most exciting motorsport to watch and to race. So yeah, absolutely loved race 3. I just found myself ascending the order really quickly, avoiding incidents, doing some pretty nice moves, if I say so myself. And then, yeah, I was just sort of managing the gap behind. Yeah, I thought I was going to get on for an easy P9, but obviously not.
Well, it wasn't sadly to be, and a little bit of contact which we can't even contextualise, but a bit of an incident at the Circuit de Nevers corner between yourself and a wayward Reeswart saw a charge to what could have been a P2 finish end in a bit of disarray. But I have to ask, of course, reflecting on today, the points haven't come your way, but you definitely had most of the battles go your way and plenty of joyful racing to come. We've still got 3 rounds to go, and well, in a week's time we head to Sebring for the first time in the NXTCC's history. How are you feeling for a visit to Florida?
Well, to be honest, I think I'm just going to try and enjoy it. I think the championship's pretty much out the window for me now, because of just this sort of thing, and other incidents that I've caused as well. So I'm just going to try and enjoy the rest of the season, have some close battles, and yeah, just look in a positive mindset and just move on.
Well, one positive you can definitely take into next round is the fact that the provisional standings currently, you're sitting in P5 and you're still well within grasp of what would be hunting down a potential top 3 come the end of the season versus the likes of Matthew Addy and Sam Smith. So it's still plenty to play for, Alex. And I have to ask, it's a new year, of course, it's 2024. Any sim racing resolutions for this year?
Don't hit Mark Sykes. I think hit him a few too many times for the last few seasons. So yeah, that's a good one. But yeah, just keep practicing, keep improving. Yeah, just yeah. I don't know. Just keep going, really.
Well, that's absolutely fair, and we love to see you keep on going and battling high throughout the season. Well, just before we do let you go, Alex, is there anybody you'd love to give a shout out to or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight? Yeah,
obviously, my parents, they're always watching, always commenting on the YouTube channel as well, and anybody else watching as well. Appreciate you all. Appreciate all the comments you do to NXTGEN and subscriptions and whatever. And then everybody at NXTGEN themselves, all the admins, all do a fantastic job, and obviously you, Paul, for your fantastic commentary, which really lifted my spirits after being wiped out in race 2, listening to you.
Well, I'm glad it can bring you a smile, Alex, and we'll hear it for you, I'm sure, brings a smile. It's not just brought a smile to my face, but many are tuning in. The fact that you're still seeing the positives and pushing on with the racing. We wish you all the best in your preparations for Sebring in a week's time. But until then, commiserations for what's been today. But still, it's great to have you in the interview room, and have a great rest of your evening.
Cheers, Paul. You too.
So hearing there from a little bit disgruntled, but still trying to find the positives, Alex Meredith from RD Simsport, and well, actually summing it up today that just nothing seemed to want to go his way. He battled hard and fast through the field. Qualifying didn't quite go right and really having difficulty in getting up to speed at the Circuit de Nevers Magny-Cours. But when qualifying goes wrong, you've got to do it the hard way, and that's what he exactly did, with race number 1 really seeing some gains, some losses, and in the end a net loss of 1 overall position, but just the same starting starting position and finishing position in class. And in races 2 and 3, we got to see the Alex Meredith, what we know, and battled his way all the way through the field. But in both cases, when a podium was right there for the taking, perhaps even a win was for the taking, it wasn't to be. With misfortune coming his way, and when we look back on it, there's no doubt about it, and I'm sure after a bit of deliberation, he'll definitely see the positives from today, because like I say, he's definitely made the most overtakes of every driver on the field, or at least if he hasn't done that, he's come extremely close to it. And well, that's what we love to see from the RD Sims What Elantra driver. There's still 3 rounds to go. He's still definitely within touch of a top 3 finish come the end of this season, even an outside chance of taking the championship with drop scores accounted for. More on that a little bit later, but obviously it's a blow today, and one that he'll certainly recover from going to Sebring in a week's time, I'm sure of it. But now, ladies and gentlemen, coming on to our second and final interview of today, we're going to come to the man who definitely seems to have had fortune and also pace come his way at Magny-Cours. There's no doubt about it. And as he gets ready to join me in the interview room, it'll be none other than Ben Altrier, and we'll get to hear the story of the man who definitely has been up the front of the field and roaring his way to success 3 times in a row today. We does join me now. Good evening to you, Ben, and well, what could we say other than congratulations on picking up your first triple header of wins and a pole position to go with it? It has been perfection from tonight for yourself. I have to ask, did you expect this?
No, honestly, I didn't. I thought my pace was going to be acceptable at best, not as good as it seemed to be in race 1, and it just seemed to go really well for me. I qualified quite nicely, I think, from memory, and it's just plain sailing from there in race 1. Put me in a good position.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because qualifying itself, we saw a phenomenal lap for you to take pole position in the Pro-Am class, P1, P6 overall. I mean, obviously, we have to talk about success bias as a little bit of a factor mixing the field up, but still to take pole by such a margin, I mean, you must enjoy this circuit in the Elantra.
Sort of. It's a good track with one corner that I just don't enjoy, and that's the hairpin. I think it's turn 3. I just couldn't seem to nail it reliably, and if I got it right and then the rest of the track went smoothly, it was a good lap. If I just messed it up, I was half a second off what I could have been.
Oh goodness me. Well, still, with even in making those errors and whatnot with regards to the hairpin, and to take the lap you did, that is testament to the speed you were bringing here. And then going into the first race of the day, I have to ask, what was your mentality? Because this is the first time this season, bar when you picked up your first win in the Pro-Am class early on the season, it's the first time we've seen you go from qualifying to race 1 with no major weight in the car, and a lot of pros around you who you might be able to beat under certain circumstances, depending on how dicey they're feeling.
For the most part, I knew I had a decent gap to the first Pro-Am behind me, so any pro that tried to make a move that was clearly going to slow me down, I just left them to it and opened the gap for them to get through and try and minimize my time loss. So it was a bit of playing with the gap that I had behind me without slowing myself down too much.
I see. And in playing that gap, we did see as the race went on, the gap between yourself and eventual second place finisher of what was, Alan McCain closed more and more, and particularly in the late stages, it looked as though you were trying to tactically keep Jamie Dury and Joseph Doe between yourself and Alan. Was that the plan, or was it just the way it worked out?
That was just the way it worked out. I had a couple of pros that wanted to play silly games with me and dive or defend unnecessarily, I felt anyway. And it dropped me back further than I would have liked to be, but it worked out okay. And when I saw that Jamie got by Alan, I was like, yes, some breathing room again.
Oh, I see. And with the breathing room afforded to yourself and Alan in the end being forced to stay behind your rival pro drivers, it was a first win in the bag, and I do believe a bit of an ecstatic moment for yourself and the team.
Yeah. I think all the team were quite supportive with that one. Actually, they've all been having a good chat about it in the communications that we've got. So it's quite a good good day for that.
And then going on to race number 2, of course, reverse grid was only the top 9, a reverse grid and then you would not be part of. But we saw in the early stages of the race a bit of a difficult start for yourself, and by the end of lap number 1, the best part of what was 5 places down on where you started.
Yeah, it was. Honestly, I don't recall quite what happened. I feel like I just struggling with the weight. I didn't have a huge amount of chance to run practice in the weight that I had, and it was a bit of a surprise. I was really struggling to drive the car. It felt like the car was driving me, and it was just difficult.
And despite those struggles, Ben, I have to ask, of course, charging your way up to P3, and then the final lap, coming up towards 180, or turn at number 9 as it's known, the race leaders had a nightmare at the corner. The second place driver, Alex Meredith, has made his way into Daniel Downing, and then you're there in the right place to pick up both places. I mean, just take us through your reaction at that scene.
I had one of my friends was in spotting for William, and he called out that Daniel had crashed, or Dan rather had crashed, and I completely missed that I even went by Alex, so I thought I was in P2. It wasn't until the end of the race that I was being told that I've finished in first again that I was like, hang on, did I? What happened to Alex? And we went back and had a look, and just had some really bad luck, poor guy.
Indeed, some misfortune at seemingly hitting both Daniel Downing and Alex Meredith, but in the end coming on through to take what was the second win in a row in today. And then I have to ask, was there a slight inkling or anything coming towards you to say, you know what, if the reverse grid goes my way, I can make it 3 wins out of 3?
Yes, but I knew it was going to be tough because Sam wasn't like he's not slow. And he's going to have less weight than me, if at all any. I don't recall. Yeah, he must have done. He must have had P2 weight, right? Yes. So he was going to have less weight than me, and he's starting in front. I felt like I was going to struggle to keep up with him, if I could keep up with him at all. And when I got a chance to get by him and managed to make it work, I then completely outbraked myself coming into the end of the lap, and he got by again. And at that point, Jamie got by on the start finish straight. I thought, I'm just gonna sit here and try and stay behind them and call it good, and then they had it coming together like a lap later, which I feel like was commentator's curse, because the friend that was spotting, he said these two are gonna come together, and about a second or two later they did and took each other out.
Oh, indeed. It was absolutely a crazy moment in the race. And I mean, just seeing yourself and Sam batting so hard at the front of the field with all the pros, I think, hesitating to try and get involved because of how fierce you were fighting. And then for it to play out like that, I mean, very good tactical call from yourself, no doubt about it. And from that point onwards, you're leading comfortably. You've got a nice gap between yourself and the rest of the prime field, much like in races 1 and 2. And when was the call? Because it looked so for some moments you were trying to chase after an overall podium, but then I think a word was whispered in your ear, just take it slow and bring home that 3rd win in a row.
I was mostly just trying to keep in front. I was pushing myself effectively, trying to see how fast I can go and try and stay in front. But as I said, for race 1, if he'd have got close and tried to make a move, I'd have let him by, which I think is what I did for 3 of the guys anyway. So
well, I see. A smart choice in the end, and just gradually bringing it on home. And still, to be fair, it may not have been an overall podium, but it was your first overall top 5, a P4 overall, and a 3rd win in the row today. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better way to come into sim racing 2024, surely.
yeah, it's a good start to the year, and hopefully it's an indicator of what's more to come if I can keep my pace up. But we'll see what the new year has to bring.
Well, speaking of things to come, of course, in a week's time we make our way to Sebring for round number 8. How are you feeling for our first ever visit to the old school American circuit?
I've not driven TCRs around Sebring. I've driven a couple of different vehicles around there, but TCRs will be the first time around there, and it's not one of my favorite tracks, I'll have to say. It's It's a nice layout, but I just feel like the track itself is ruined by the bumps and changes in the road.
It could be a bit of a rough and rugged day next week, there's no doubt about it, and we look forward to seeing whether you can carry on this momentum from today. But just before we do let you go, Ben, 2 quick questions. Firstly, of course, it's the start of a new year in life and in sim racing. Any New Year's resolutions on the sim racing front?
I don't really do New Year's resolutions. I've not thought of it, to be honest. I don't know. Probably just to try and keep improving myself as I have been doing for the last few months. So just keep up that momentum if I can.
That's absolutely fair. And of course, we do have to ask, just before we do let you go, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out or a thank you to live on the broadcast tonight?
Yeah, he begged me to shout him out, so I've got to shout out Harry if he's listening still. And yeah, we'll call it good.
Well, I'm sure he's definitely listening. But with that, Ben, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you join me in the interview room. Congratulations again to adding your name to a rather limited list of individuals who've made it 3 primes and 3 prime wins, plus also qualifying in pole position in class in a single night. Indeed, it's a rarity, but we love to see it, and you've earned it today for Full Tilt V Motorsport. We look forward to plenty more from yourself in a week's time at Sebring, but until then, have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thanks, and you, mate.
So hearing there from Ben Allchair for Full Tilt V Motorsport, and what I think a little bit speechless with regards to what he's been able to achieve today, and I think right now it's just gradually sinking in. And well, as we said earlier, some fortune on his side, no doubt about it, but also a lot of pace state. And intriguing how he's talking about the fact that qualifying didn't quite go right in terms of the comfort of the circuit, and particularly having to deal with Adelaide hairpin, and the fact he lost a couple of attempts there and trying to get it right. But going into the races, race number 1, really a balancing act between having to manage the pros around him and also keep enough breathing room to Alan McCain behind. And then in races 2 and 3, well, race number 2, the sudden arrival after fighting his way up to P3 of seeing the race leader and second place both in an instant right on the final lap, and Sam Van Ol's right there breathing down his neck. And more of that in race number 3 between himself and Sam, only in the end to take the lead when Sam ended up in the unfortunate incident coming on through the chicane. Was we do see Ben crossing the finish line there in the replay footage, definitely an indication of potentially what's to come, and there's no question about it, the Full Tilt V Motorsport driver definitely delivering on a major stage today. And well, if he can keep that up at Sebring, even though it's a circuit, he hasn't run the touring car racing class machines around before and is a little bit concerned about how rough the circuit is with those road surface changes, or if he can overcome that, could this be the late turn in his championship campaign, and could it be the opportunity for the prime driver to really ascend and take the fight to Isaac Doble? Well, that's to be revealed in a week's time, there's no doubt about it, but some drivers right now may be wondering whether Ben Allchair has finally arrived on the championship stage. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes all of our interviews for today. We have heard from 2 of our drivers, Alex Meredith being the first for RD Simsport in the prime class there, and we just heard from Ben Allchair, also the prime driver for Full Tilt V Motorsport. Congratulations to both of them on their performances today, and thank you to them for both for joining me in the interview room, and we look forward to plenty more racing from them and their peers in the prime class in a week's time, amongst also the rest of the field. But with that, it's now time for us to bring you an update on the provisional championship standings after 7 rounds of racing. Indeed, the scores have been totaled, minus any stewarding decisions, which will be looked at over the week ahead. But as we can see, ladies and gentlemen, in the overall championship firstly, Wojciech Swirydowicz continues to lead the way with an advantage that has been extended by 20 points over Mikey Doble. Indeed, Swirydowicz's performances today have kept him clear, but Mikey Doble's 2 wins out of 3 plus a P7 have yielded him the opportunity to leap his way back into P2. In what is a championship about swings and roundabouts here, there's no doubt about it. Well, right now, Doble definitely seems to be on the rise once again. But meanwhile, Swirydowicz seems to be infallible at the top, and is that where he's going to stay for the remainder of the season? Daniel Martin drops to P3 on 657 points, but notice there it's only 30 separating the top 3, and now Mikey Doble definitely sandwiching himself right in amongst them. Jaroslaw Cebula stays P4 on 614 points, ahead of Adam Delmont, and then it's Dan Mould in P6 with a difficult end to his racing today with 0 points there for race number 3 after that unfortunate retirement. It puts him on joint 562 with Benjamin McCluskey, but result countback goes the way of Mould. field. Jamie Dory, Jose Dower and Gavin Gardner complete your top 10, but Gardner and Dory, they're the two Audi drivers fighting on for a place in the top 10. And notice there P11 at Paul Zenatachi on 485 points, once again thwarted from being inside the top 10, but he's close and closing the gap little by little. And will the fortune come his way, and will he be able to make that late charge in the final 3 rounds? Lee Horn sits P12 ahead of William Guthrie, with Guthrie's results today launching him into P13, his highest place in the championship so far this season. And it's Isaac Doble, your leading Prime driver, in P14 on 370 points, ahead of Nick Clemens by the best part of 49. Albeit Clemens not on the grid today, and therefore this will become his major drop score week. We then give you an update from the top 15 of the overall standings to the top 15 of the Pro-Am IMB Racewear Championship standings, and here we can see Isaac Doble leads on 800 points to the 733 of Daniel Downing. Doble's lead has been opened to a degree, it's only slender, but he's been able to widen it, and with his performances, there's one thing you've got to count on here of Isaac Doble, and that is whilst he may not be picking up the big accolades at the front of the field, he's remaining ever consistent, and that's what it takes to be a champion. Downing in P2 will be ruining the fact that a win in race number 2 would have brought him much closer to the championship leader, but still 9 at the pace is there, and he's still got 3 rounds to turn things around, with Matthew Addy in P3 on 669 points, and it does look as though it's becoming more and more who can catch Isaac Doble, and then the rest of the field fighting for P2 downwards, with Matthew Addy and Alex Meredith separated by only 13 points, and a further, what is there, 9 points to Ben Altrier, who's leapt up to P5. Alan McCain sits P6 on 609 points. You can't count him out for a top 5 finish at the end of the season. Nor Sam Van Olst, who once again today demonstrating great pace, but misfortune in race number 3 potentially cost him his first Prime win, and therefore right now Van Olst will be feeling as though it's all to do next week. Sam Smith not on the grid today, and therefore 0 points scored, drops to P8, but is still ahead of Matthew Cheverton, who marks the split in the field there on 484 points, 34 clear of an absent Jay Calais, and then Duncan Murray's P11 there on 442, in what has been a challenging day today for the South African driver, but still more to come at Sebring. Paul Scott, Stephen Fry, Harley Bicknell and Mark Sykes complete your top 15, and again the results today from both Stephen Fry and Harley Bicknell, both season best points accruals in a single round, have moved into the top 15, and they're chasing down the top 10. Will they be able to get there before the end of the season? It's going to be fascinating to watch. But with that, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for us to wrap up. Thank you very much for watching, and if you have enjoyed today's show, and perhaps you want to know more about the Next Gen Racing community, perhaps you're sat there right now thinking that you want to be on the grid for an upcoming season of racing, whether it be the remainder of the NXTCC Season 5, albeit Season 6 will of course be around the corner shortly after, and we'll tell you more about that when we come to the end of this season, or perhaps you want to be on the grid for some of our other series, including the upcoming GT3 Fix series, or the Prototype LMP series that's upcoming in January this year. Well, all that and more you can find out about it on our official website firstly, and that's at nextgenracing.co.uk. And as our website appears on screen, it's the home of clean and fair sim racing for all, and our website currently undergoing a degree of renovation, but it's still there, and you can find out all the latest details regarding our series. And as we continue to go from strength to strength now into 2024, we'd love to have you as part of our community as we push forward in the world of sim racing and continue to host series primarily on iRacing, but we do have plenty upcoming, including what will be a British Touring Car Championship style series on R Factor 2, and that's upcoming in 4 weeks' time. But if you don't want to go to our website today, you can, of course, instead follow us on social media, and the best place to do so is to go to our Facebook group. That's at facebook.com/groups/NextGen Racing, where there you can find out a little bit more about the guys and girls behind Next Gen Racing in terms of what we do both on the virtual circuit and also on the real circuit, where a good number of our staff members being real-life track marshals, if not real-life race drivers. We'd also like to take this moment to say a big thank you to our sponsors, as always, including PowerMaxed, Next Level Racing, Mark Sykes Designs, Joyce Design, Sam Cases UK, Douglas Motorsport, Benji Sim Photos, and then last but not least, our title sponsor for this season of the NXTCC, IMB Racewear, the sim racing and real-life racing racewear provider that prides itself on individuality with their fully custom designs, enabling you to make the impact you have always wanted to on track, as their gear is designed for you by you. Do head to their website, imbracewear.com, to find out more about IMB Racewear's fully customizable product range, which brings benefits you just cannot get from off-the-shelf products. But now, ladies and gentlemen, attentions will turn to a week's time, because round number 8 is around the corner on Tuesday the 9th of January 2024. We return to the United States of America for the second and final time this season, and it is the Sebring International Raceway that plays host for the first time in our NXTCC history. It's a rough, it's a rugged circuit, and running on the old airfields of the USLA, who is going to land themselves the big score, or who will take flight and ascend to the top of the championship. All that and more is to be found out then, but until then, we have been Next Gen Racing. I've been your host and commentator, Paul TX141 Walsh, also known as Britain Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, but most importantly, remember to stay on track. Good night.